welcome to the Post-Human Podcast.
Today's guest, motivation and wellness specialist, motivational group speaker, and expert coach in personal accountability, Andrea Mason. There we go.
Good afternoon. Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening to all who's listening and watching. It's an honor, pleasure to be here. I hope as well. Thank you so much, Tim, for having me.
No, it's okay. Thank you for coming on the show. Sorry we had those technical issues at the start, and hopefully it's okay because we've got some good bonus. We've got some good bonus content. The same thing that we spoke about. But here's something just before we get into the serious stuff. Now, I was going to say it right on the end of your name, but you was so quick on the ball that you jumped it. So I was going to say Andrea Mason, and I was going to say, are you one of the Freemasons?
No, I'm not, but I consider myself a Freemason every now and again.
It was on my notes. I had to get it out there. It was, I was going to drop it in halfway through the show, but I thought we'll get it out of the way. So tell me a little bit about what you do, because I mean, I've looked into you on Facebook and it'd be really interesting to see. Again, I've done a little bit of personal development, but personal accountability, now that is a completely different game, and it's something that it's probably a bit above my level tenfold, which you are.
We're all the same. It's different areas where we strive, other areas where we need to thrive. We're all same. So yes, so personal accountability, what I consider is I use my experiences, life stories, and decades in the social work and psychology realms to help individuals get where they need to be and have them achieve their goals and dreams through the healing process of forgiveness. And what do I mean by that? So I do not dictate, I do not lecture, I listen and I learn, and I help you gain personal accountability. In other words, one of my mentors always says, Andrea, do it now and procrastinate later. And I always resonate with that because we always have to-do lists. And when we have the to-do list, we either get overwhelmed or underwhelmed, and we really don't set the bar high enough to meet our fullest potential. So what I do is I step in just like a parent to a child learning how to ride a bike. I just hold the seat, make sure you stay on path, and walk with you to embrace your journey towards success.
Did you put the stabilizers on?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm glad you at least got that. It's good because even then, accountability is a big thing. And this week I had like a lot. This month I kind of was wanting to shake up my own shit, and I had a lot of time off. And it was one of my actual questions that I'd put on a back piece of notes. I do notes by these little post-it notes, by the way. I think they're the best way until you lose multiple amounts of them or whatever. But it's funny because you talk about developing people, and I like to develop. I mean, I've got qualifications in it myself, but I also am the biggest critic of myself. And I took a week off, and I'm like, I'm playing catch up. And it's funny you talk about accountability, and I'm like, whose fault is that? And especially when you talk about burning out and overwhelming yourself, because I'm not going to say that's what I've done, but I'm always stepping into some sort of 12th gear, where it just doesn't, I'm always full charge. And eventually you do burn out. That is a fact.
Yes, absolutely.
But again, I'm personally accountable for that. Even though I've got a family and I've got all this stuff going on, that is irrelevant to what I'm doing. That makes sense?
Right. Yes, absolutely. And it's all about the mindset. Our thoughts can be treasures or tragedies, and words can be wisdom or weapons. And it's that self-talk that you're talking about of, okay, I'm going to do this. But again, we are our own worst critic. We're either overworked and, burnt out, or we're just underworked and we're just kind of want to like just tap out. And, I was off a week for myself, and it's been a long time since I had a week off. And I didn't know what to do with myself. I was just like, I was with the family. We were going here and there. And it's just like, well, I know I have stuff to do with my business, but at the same token, I know that our bodies, our minds, and the universe wants us to kind of take a break. And for me, that was pretty difficult. And truth be told, one of the remedies that I used was just kind of relaxing on the couch and just taking a nap. And even though that sounded like so simple, it was so worth it. I felt so revived. I felt, it was good.
Slept. That's all I did. I slept. I watched a whole bunch of really rubbish films that I'd seen countless times because I'm like, if I watch this, I'm falling asleep. And I literally, I kind of regret it, and this is where we're talking about that accountability, because although I enjoyed it, when I come back to doing stuff today, and I've got like 16 people trying to book in, and I'm like, man, I could have at least, I can do that pretty much half of those over a week easy, but I'm like, I could have stacked those up, played them out over the last couple of days rather than have my consistency broken. And but it was like, nah, I just wanted to I slept so good, it was crazy.
Yes,
and it's needed. You need it.
Absolutely, you need that reset, that recharge and reboot. And for me, it was kind of, I felt a little bad, like you said, your worst critic, because I don't see my family that much. They're always working or in school, and I was like, well, how can I balance this to take quality time? This is the time until now, the holidays, that we're off. And I kind of salt and pepper shake, going on day trips and going where we need to do, taking care of the house and, the mundane errands that, you need a whole day to do outside of the 2 days on the weekends when most stuff is closed.
Yeah.
But it's a trade-off, but I was able to get a good balance. We're back to the grind. And same thing, I have 10 podcasts this week, and I'm just like, really? I just squeezed them all in 1 week? I could have spread them out every 2 weeks, but I guess everybody's kind of meeting their quota for podcasts. And, with the technical conditions that we had earlier on, I was like, I really don't need this right now. I just rebooted, I reset it and recharged, and now the technology became a component.
If you was to go by my mentality of that, technically speaking, excuse me, you can do that in 3 days. If you can manipulate your time, and if they're very short, I tend to do long form podcasts.
No, these are long that I'm on their podcasts, and these were scheduled like, a couple of months ago, and I just was like, I'll be revived after a break. I'll be energized, and then But it's all good. All good. Maybe it's part of the story.
Maybe you should do what I'm doing and treat this like you're just getting your wheels back going. You know?
Absolutely.
If anything, this might be the perfect show to break you in for these 9 podcasts, because this is very loose. Although it's loose, there's still some questions and subjects and.
Sure.
So,
and that's what it's about, being organic and being, casual and letting the chips fall where they may. That's one of the pieces of my journey that I learned. I can't control everything. And that was and as silly as it sounds for someone like of my personality, type A personality, Taurus, you name it, everything in those stereotypical personality conditions, that's what I have. And it's kind of like, you know what, I'm just gonna let it go, and that's when the most amazing things occur. And then like even this morning I was just like, all right, you know what, just gonna keep trying, not gonna give up. It'll work, and if the schedule allots it, we'll connect.
Well, I'll say, I'm an Aries.
Okay.
So God of War, you have to get to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Are you a fan of cosmology? It's very often that people always mention their star signs and.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
I'd imagine some of it must creep into your profession in a way. Maybe a little bit, because when you sort of talk about wellness, you can kind of get 2 different sides of that. which is
Right.
like, well, you can get multiple sides of that in a way. You know, you can get like homeopathic sides of, you can get, you know, herbal fucking bullshit, but then you can get like spiritualistic, and you can just keep going on. There's quite a few. I probably can't name
There's
them all.
definitely
I'm not
different
gonna.
angles.
I'm not gonna even try because I could just sit here all day trying to guess, mostly
Right.
causing dead air. But you know where we're coming from, and so I'd guess you would have. Have you ever delved into that sort of cosmology side of it and down that? Because you know what. Because it's tricky because it seems like you don't do that kind of thing, but
Right,
but obviously at some point you have to. So it almost integrates in a way.
Yeah, I dabble in it a little bit. You know, one of my best friend's mother's really into it, and she has all the, you know, like history, the books and whatnot. And then every day, you know, just for pick me up, I like to listen to my astrological sign and what's coming down the pipe for, you know, whether it be the week, the month, or the day. But I try also to respect not to put all my eggs in the one basket, you know, because you can really set yourself up for disappointment as well, or set yourself up for, you know, a big, you know, event that doesn't occur, you know.
Well, I mean,
for
that's the
whatever
thing
reason.
with like horoscopes is it's. I mean, I'm somewhat skeptical of horoscopes because if you're going to read that week in advance, you can almost precognitively plan that. It's not.
Absolutely.
And circumstances, well, you know, there's a lot when, and they make it pretty broad and vague. But
Right.
I'm
But
not
I have
saying.
been to a few, I have been to a few specialists on a one-on-one,
Oh yeah.
and I'll be honest, I was a little taken aback. I was like, whoa, why
yeah,
do you know
this
that?
is-
Why do you know that?
This is the thing that I'm saying. If you, I mean, like normal people will read it in a magazine, you know,
Right,
like
right,
the
yeah.
back of the paper and go, oh, this is
While
my
they're waiting
horoscope
for
this
their
week.
doctor's appointment, they're
Yeah,
reading
yeah.
the highlights.
Oh yeah, you're gonna die in 7 days. You know, like, what? Shit, man, that was pretty fucking broad. You know, jeez, how did that get into this paper?
Right.
But no, but no, it's horoscopes. They're so strange, but obviously you can go. It's all based on cosmology, and I'm a fan of
Right.
cosmology rather than the horoscope side of it. Hence why when you
Right,
said I'm
gotcha.
a Taurus, I was like, yeah, I'm an Aries. It's I wouldn't have. I don't know if there was any other signs. I probably wouldn't have said them. I don't know.
No, I hear you. But
So,
yeah, it's amazing, you know, like you said, our you know, our mind is, you know, definitely you can manifest what you want, you know, and we learn it at such an early age, but we tend to forget it. If you think about it, you know what I mean? Like if you're on the playground at 5 or 6 years old, you have 6 or 7 kids running around. All of a sudden, one says, I have to go to the bathroom. Now you got 6 others following. Well, I have to go to the bathroom, you know, or I'm hungry and I'm hungry. And then it depends on how deep a dive you want to go into it to really master it. And when you do master it, I've done it a few times. It's kind of overwhelming,
I was
empowering.
gonna say,
Like
yeah.
it's kind of like, you know, what are you doing? Why did you just do that and it happened? You know, but it's a great tool and asset to definitely have and to learn. Absolutely.
So one thing I just want to say is,
Yeah.
I went on your website,
Okay.
and it's fantastic. Like
Thank
I love
you.
your website. The fact that you click to get in, and then I was like, oh, what's behind this? And it was like bang, and it loaded fucking smooth as a nut. And I was like, wow, this is very smooth. It's all, I love it. I just wanted to say that, and the same for your YouTube channel.
Thank you.
Some of those views are from me, by the way, because
I
again,
appreciate it.
I do my research.
Yes.
A little bit.
It was hard. It is hard. For my website, I'm grateful for my developer. She did an amazing job. If you saw the first draft, it was all corporate. And I was like, yeah, that's not me.
Yeah,
You know.
I mean, the
And
reason
then
I loved it was because, again, it, you know, I don't know, it's just it's almost interactive.
yes.
And it's on like a strange way as well, because you'll click on something and something will come out of nowhere. And you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And you're almost expecting something else. There's a lot of twists and turns, especially when you're looking at it and you just know, you know, you're used to the normal websites, you know, these bullshit HTML, I don't know what the fuck, JavaScript, I don't know what it is, but you just go, oh, these, and there's no standard animation. And then you
Right,
click
right.
on something and it's like, wow, shit, man, this is coming out of nowhere. There's these transitions. And
Yes,
I
no,
loved it.
she did a great job. We did a great job. We took a lot of pride in that, you know, and because that's how I am. I'm interactive. I love talking to people. I love learning about people, you know. And with my YouTube, that was hard. That wasn't easy for YouTube. I was never in the public eye until probably October 2020, you
Okay.
know? So to do that, I mean, I just passed 270. I think I'm like at close to 280 videos now. And it's just so much fun because I didn't understand because I was like those kind of people where, you know, when YouTube first came out, people were talking to themselves. And I'm like, that's weird. Why are there's
Yeah.
no audience. But now that I do it, it just has built up my craft to do such podcasts as these and other speaking venues as well as coaching.
Well, that's the good word to use as well, is craft, because most
Yes.
people just go, "Hey, this is what I do," and blah blah, but they don't. I tend to see that people that I mean, I've only been doing this since the start of the year. My YouTube subscribers is pretty low, but that's because I wasn't releasing my episodes off the bat. I've just released everything up to now, on like
Okay.
over a 2 day period, which was kind of foolish. But I never wanted to do YouTube, but then
Right.
I don't know, when I was recording it, I was like, some of these could be pretty good to watch. And
Right.
then,
Right.
but I just got so many bookings in. It was like
Yeah.
crazy. And then,
Yeah.
I was pushing episodes every 2 days. And, it got to the point where I had to edit like 30 odd videos and I had to take a week off for that because I couldn't physically do anything, which was like you were
Right.
saying,
Right.
you know,
Right.
comes to
And I
being
mean,
overwhelmed.
with a podcast, I give you guys so much credit. There's so many bells and whistles and I didn't realize, my husband and I, we went off grid like years ago and we
Oh, that's
started
cool.
watching Disney vloggers. We're diehard Disney fans, by the way.
Okay.
But we watched Disney vloggers where they go into the park and whatnot. And when I understood and saw the behind scenes of just pure editing, I was like, these guys are just wow. If I need any technical information or questions, I go to the podcasters because it's a lot of work behind the scenes. And so when I was doing my videos, my YouTube, I was, first of them, I'm looking here, I'm talking here, but I have the process from day one to now. And, it was crazy, Tim, that people were just like, well, why are you doing them every day? Why? That's silly. Why are you uploading them every day?
Consistency.
And I was just exactly.
That's all it is,
I was like, you know what?
consistency.
Practice makes progression. And, I've learned from social media that a lot of the audience likes like you said, the bloopers and the mistakes, they want human. They don't want this perfect thing because it's not real,
Yeah, well, even then, I've just before we did our show, I always pre-record the Zoom, and I always listen to a bit of music before the show, and I'll have a bit of a smoke, and as you can see, I'm drinking because I like to just get loose on the show. But I was sitting there waiting for you, and just just jamming away. I've probably got like 10 minutes of me dancing earlier on when I fucked up waiting for you an hour and a half ago when I messed up my times. That's a blooper in itself, because for me that's a moment where, well, for one, I was like 2 hours early and sat there going, yeah man, we're going to get fucking pounding this soon, and just sitting there smashing it out. And then it was like, wait a minute, 10. And when the minute you said 10, it literally reverberated in my mind, and I was like, wait a minute, that isn't fucking 1 o'clock at all. That's 3 o'clock. And it was, because the 5-hour difference.
Right.
And for some reason, I assumed that you were starting at 8 o'clock. And I don't know why. I convinced myself almost the other day. Again, this was the problem. I took a few days off hibernating and fucked myself up with times. So that was the problem.
Right. But you know what? It's all part of like you said, it's all part of the story, because I was just like, I was ready to go. And I was like, okay, so I want to make sure I didn't mess up when we confirmed. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get everything ready, going to have my equipment, And then it was just like, denied, error, technical error. I was like, really? He's probably so amped. And I'm just like, la, 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 la. I was like, now he's gonna like deflate of energy, and I'm just like, now I'm hyped and frustrated. It was just, it's a whole experience to say.
It is a strange thing because you do get this hype.
Yes.
For the people that don't podcast and get a hype before their shows, you kind of feel the energy, and there is energy. But I had to re-hype twice, and that was fun because the second time over, and I'm like, oh, is this gonna work? I was like, come on, let's go. And it was like I was betting on red and black, you know.
Right.
It was like I was betting on a roulette table, but I was going green. I was going green, you know, and a bang, it landed, you know.
Yes.
But I got a bunch of like I said, bonus content, promos, and it's always fun. But it's when I looked at your YouTube, you're releasing them pretty fucking daily, you know.
Yes. Every day I've done it. I started
on the ball.
October 21st, and I missed 2 holidays to separate the consistency, sequence. And then when I was doing my academy work, I took 10 days off, but I made up for those 10 days. But I've been doing this every single day, and it was kind of, interesting because after some time, I would get these messages, and they were like, Andrea, where's your video? You're not up, because I used to do it at like 9 o'clock every morning, Eastern Standard Time. And so I was like, wow, somebody's watching me. That's awesome. So now it's kind of fun because, I'll do it when I have, when I'm, because if I'm out and about or something happens in the morning where I don't get it done, yard workers, neighbors, what have you, weather, I'll do it in the evening, and it's still kind of cool because somebody's like, you know what, I had a rough day, but then I saw the notification on your video, and that really helped me. It filled what I needed at that time. And that's just the power and the greatness, one of the few greatnesses of the perks of, social media, because, depending on time zone or what have you, people can see you even when you're sleeping or not. You know what I mean? Because I have I have a huge following over in Pakistan, Africa, and in Europe. So they're on different timelines. Some of them are like a whole day ahead, rather than just the States. So it's been a lot of work. I'm not going to lie, but it's been an amazing journey.
Well, that's the thing, is sometimes it's tricky because, like you say, when you get overwhelmed, you almost forget about these little moments that have made it all worthwhile, and it's made it worth it 100%. And it's maybe because in that moment of, being complacent or getting some time off, that you're just thinking about that day to day rather than what you was doing and how you was gaining that little drive. And it's so difficult to maintain. I always call it, you have to step things into 12th gear, because there's no such fucking thing as 12th gear. It's impossible. There's only been, I think, 7 gears on a car. So if you go into 12, you're going above and beyond, Yeah,
you're in jet mode.
You literally, you're not even, I can't counteract the speed. I don't know what it is. But that's what you have to do. You have to step into a gear it's uncontrollable. It's where you can barely put the brakes on. Right. And when you do put those brakes on, it stops fucking hard. It stops so hard that, again, sometimes getting started to get going back to that 12th gear is a process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's my one and only philosophical take of the show. I don't think it'll happen again.
I will use 12th gear, and I will definitely, give the credentials where due. Go into 12th gear, just like Tim said, because you'll never come back. But if you hit the
you have to. It is true. It is kind of, you have to really get going again, and it's so hard to do. I mean, even now, like, I took these 6 days off. It's not the first time I've took a few days off. I took a couple of days off. I can't even remember why. I think I was just, again, probably overtired. Doing 3 shows a day, pissing around and whatever. But you do have to take time off, and it is valuable to get sleep, because you just you fry your brain so easy.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm really glad you mentioned that, because people take that for granted. I used to I used to be, for a while, I was very disciplined, and before everything, went to whatever.
Yeah, we don't
And
need to get
I
into
was,
that category.
no, but I was disciplined and I just had one slip because, my husband's hours have changed and I'm usually finished by like, supper time or what have you. And then he just got his busy season bumped up. And I was like, all right, I'll take care of, our son. He'll be in bed regular standard time, but I'll wait up. And Tim, I'll tell you, it was just a difference of like maybe 2 hours difference of going to sleep and 2 hours waking up a little bit later threw me for a loop. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to get back on track. And then we had time off. I was like, well, this is just no good. I have to get back into that routine. And that's where kind of I came into the progression of a personal accountability coach, having that cheerleader, that fan on your side, no judgment, no excuses, just results, saying, all right, you fell off, let's get back on again, because I was grinding really hard, and even though I was working from home different, I was still pounding the pavement, like a regular 7 to 10 hour day. But as you know, with this industry, it's totally different. It's fun. It's engaging. It's, learning about
Yeah.
people, connecting, it's not punching numbers or, meeting quotas. But at the same
No.
token, it will take a toll on you if you let it.
Well, I mean, even then, it's tricky because even in a relationship, you have to delegate X amount of time to your partner. If you've got kids,
Right.
X amount of time to your kids. And then if
Absolutely.
you're taking on, personal people, you have to delegate time to each and every individual person. It's like being a doctor. If you're a
Yes.
doctor, my stepmom, she's a doctor. She's a partner in a GP, but she's a GP practitioner, whatever you want to call it. But she sees fucking hundreds of people a day, and
Oh
it's silly numbers to be able to figure out
yeah.
every single one of them. And if you're in those kind of fields, like what you do, like what doctors do, hypnotherapists, where you see personal clients one to one, even if you're a fitness coach with 30 clients, you've still got to delegate X amount of time to 30 people, almost not even on a daily basis, but a bi-weekly basis. And
Exactly.
30 by 15 or whatever, the maths, you could supplement it down to X amount of hours, but it's still very
Right.
tricky. It's a very
Yeah.
tricky thing to do.
And I think that's probably, and pardon those listeners out there, I think it takes a lot more toll on your body because, for me, I'm an empath. And for that empathetic, sympathetic
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
connection, interpersonality, you can get drained if you don't take care of it,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
can.
a big key point, especially in the mental health arena, because from social work and psychology, in those industries, I was coming home burnt. And I was just like, you only have a limited amount that you can divulge or share with your
Yep.
family due to, privacy. But at the same token, you're just like, okay, wow. Okay, number one, I know where my life could be if I don't take care of myself. Number two, I know where I don't want to be. But at the same token, I want to feel for these individuals who kind of lost their way. And it's just a lot, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah.
I think people need to keep that in mind.
Well,
Sleep is
I'm,
very,
I'm,
very important.
I'm an empath myself, and here's a
Okay.
great example of that.
Mhm.
I am a full firm believer that The Terminator is one of the greatest film love stories of all time.
Okay.
And I base this is how much of an empath I am, is I broke up from a relationship years and years ago. And to get over this relationship, I decided to watch a bunch of action films. One of those, I've spoke about it on my show several times. It was The Terminator. And while watching it, I realised it wasn't a sci-fi film, it was a love story in which John Connor just goes back in time to save a woman. The Terminator, all that shit, you can almost pedal that to the side if you just primarily focus on that one point. That's how much of an empathetic person I am, is that I was divulging love stories out of sci-fi films.
Wow.
I could probably didn't help I was in a relation, coming out of a relationship burn. but I could truly feel something that I wouldn't normally. I don't know anyone that's ever been able to watch a film like that and take off a piece of it that is completely unrelated. It's there. It's set in stone. You can
No,
watch it.
definitely.
You
I'm
can
actually
watch
gonna
it with
take you
that.
up on that. I'm gonna watch it from that perspective. But that is, but you know, I realized I was just like, when we connected, I was like, wow, this guy's really like awesome. He's down to earth, but you can see not only see the, you know,
Well, I'm honest.
the
That's
level
all it
head.
is.
Well, yes, that
That's all it
too.
is.
But I mean, your understanding is just amazing, and
Thank
that's
you.
really powerful. You know, and I felt that I was like, wow, because you have the stereotypes, and you have the people like, well, we'll do it another time, or whatever, man. Wow, this person's not professional. And you're just like, you know what? It's all good, and whatever happens, happens. But even before that, and that's what I really kind of caught my eye with the show. I was just like, wow, this is something totally different, authentic, and having the male perspective, the empathy, the passion, but also the brutally honest
Oh
transparency
shit.
was really, really, really was something that caught my eye because that is something that's missing
Wow. Do you
a
know what?
lot. You know,
That is one of the greatest compliments that's ever been said on the show. Uh, you've
from
almost
my
burnt.
heart.
You've almost burnt me there. Jesus. Fuck.
It's I only speak the
That's
truth.
no, that's me too, and that's a very, very good, honest compliment. The only reason that I don't know, my show is so strange because I like to keep everything as transparent as it is. You know, my opinions. I love to chat shit. I talk a lot of bullshit, but some of it I believe, but most of it's nonsense.
Right.
Uh, but most of my show is built upon nonsense, and there's these weird multiple layers. But the one thing that I do focus on is the guest and how I respond to them. There's only been a few moments. Sorry, you even caught me there. I've been holding that in my throat with that huge compliment. I was hoping to swallow that ball of emotions there, but it wasn't. It was caught in my throat. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
That was almost an Elvis. Thank you very much there. I literally said it there. I didn't even mean to. I lost my own. Yeah, but no, it's just such a strange thing to do, and I love talking to people. I love interacting with them. I love getting the best out of people, but I also like to promote people in weird ways where audiences get that also backhand information about them. You know, like I say, a lot of my stuff kind of revolves around conspiracies and bullshit, but you know, like I say, I like to focus on the guest and get the best of them out of the show, and mostly get them to have a good time, because if they're having a good time, then the show's great. It doesn't make a difference what anybody else thinks. If that person's had a good time with me, it's all good. It makes no difference, and that's probably why a lot of people want to come on the show, because there's been a few, don't get me wrong, there's been a few that have gone a little bit weird, and I've had a few people that have tried to come on, and there was one that I spoke about on a guest show, but I'm not going to speak it now because I'll plug him later on. He'll thank me for that. And can't divulge everything, people. You have to give something back to everybody else as well.
Absolutely.
You know, why am I going to tell that same story that I said on a guest's show? Well, sorry, when I was a guest on his show. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that, because then the same information's out there twice, and they could just watch me rather than watch him.
Right.
Well, that's not fair, you know. But no, let's. I'm trying to cross my legs. I'm so close to my desk. I was trying to cross my ankles there. So what's the heart? I mean, you do a lot of group, or I don't know if you still do a lot of group speaking. Have you ever had some problems when group speaking? Because I watch I watch a lot of group speakers. But some of them have had people that have questioned whatever they say, but have you ever had someone that's truly been problematic, and you're like, man, this is getting argumentative and tricky?
You know, on some of the group panelists that I have, I've kind of really bitten the bullet of it's okay to disagree. It's okay to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And that's what I really have to keep grounded for myself, because everybody comes from different backgrounds, has different experiences,
Oh
different
yeah.
perspectives, programmed, unprogrammed, you name it. But when I do feel like of a conflict of interest where it really gets to me, I have really, really worked on this just by like, okay, leave it as it is and just walk away, or, you know, end it at that point. Like, you know what, it's okay. I did my piece. I'm not here for them. I'm here for the people I'm working with and the individuals. It's not about me. And I just kind of move on, but that was a really big thing for me to swallow because, growing up, I was bullied, I was abused, neglected, you name it, thrown into trash cans, you're shoved into lockers,
Yeah, no, I was bullied. It's all right. We're all
but that's what makes me stronger. And those are the scars that are going to remind me never to give permission or power to somebody else to do that. And most importantly, what I do work with individuals is to, allow the healing power of forgiveness, not to forget, but to forgive that they're uninformed. That's all they've known. And it's a reflection of them and not you. And you must take the power in your hand to allow yourself to heal, embrace it, and face your past because it will continue to chase you.
Well, it's also
And
it's also finding that inner person's strength as well. That
right,
person's inner strength.
right,
Because everyone's got that inner strength, but it's just so barraged down by bullying
yeah,
and crap, and
yeah,
getting it out of that shadow is very tricky. But sorry, carry
yeah.
on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, because I was just like, when I, just a brief thing about me. So I was adopted, and I was adopted from Colombia, South America, during like the cartel, the war-torn drug zone era. And my parents made the ultimate sacrifice to put me up for adoption. And I was welcomed in open arms with unconditional love and healthy and wealthy parents, where I arrived to the States 11 pounds at 11 months old. That's a pound per month, and then I just kind of was like, because of their honesty and transparency, what we were talking about, they said, you're adopted, but if you ever want to reclaim your family and find out more, we'll be more than happy to support you. Now, 7 years old, that's a treasure and a tragedy in itself. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
treasure, you're a gift to your family. Tragedy, like you still don't have the mental capacity to say, well, if my parents didn't want me, they put me up for adoption. What?
It's a tricky thing as a 7-year-old to adjust to, because
Yeah.
again, if you're used to that for 7 years of your life, that's a long period of time.
Right.
And it's almost, well, it kind of is a lie, but it's a lie
Right.
that is it's a very honest,
Yeah.
loving lie. That's, people talk about white lies, it's almost like the reverse opposite of that. And I don't
Right.
even think there's a name for it. I can't imagine that there is a name for a lie that is based upon truth and wanting everything to be okay, upon when you delivering that lie to the person, they have no understanding of what's going on, because that is a scenario. It's like Santa.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
almost like Santa, but it's not, because Santa's not real, but this scenario is,
Right.
and
Right.
there's no
And
such
that was
real
hard.
thing.
That was hard for me, because, but looking back, Tim, I've seen so many individuals who were never told they were adopted or find out later on in life, and they're like, what? But I mean, for me, it was a little understanding because my complexion, my features were different of my parents a little bit,
Okay.
because being of, Colombian descent, my parents were, Caucasian. So, I mean, we
Okay.
all had brown hair and brown eyes, but at the same token, there was a
Yeah,
significant
yeah.
features,
You was kind of a bit like, maybe what's going on here?
Right,
there's
right,
questions would arise naturally
right.
within
Yeah,
within that. It'd be almost unimaginable to not, because we have these emotions and instincts that have been driven into us for millions of years. It's almost
absolutely.
unimaginable to not understand what's going on. I would suggest it'd be like being I don't know, say in a dog format, but it'd be like being a
Right,
border collie and waking up in a family of Alsatians.
right,
You're
exactly.
like, we're all kind of dogs, but what's going on here?
Yeah,
It's a
right.
fucked up way to put it, but it's the only way that my brain can get it out in that way.
No, it's kind of like something's not right here. Wait a minute,
Yeah.
Something's not right. But
I'm not calling anybody dogs. I'm just saying that's the best way that I would analogize it, and it's probably a terrible way.
You know what? Society calls men dogs, which is inappropriate and unaccepted. So I mean, think about it.
I forgot that they did that because that stupid woofing crap.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Forgot all about that.
So you're not alone. Not that I encourage it or impede upon it, but people have been called worse, to be honest, and we can go even farther back, but we'll keep it present, on a positive light. But and it's, so getting to the point of kind of understanding, how you push through trials and tribulations in your life. What is the chemical makeup? What is the neurological makeup? What is the environmental makeup of an individual that molds them? Because that was something that was difficult for me. My parents were very healthy and wealthy and successful Wall Street bankers. And I'm like, how am I going to meet up to that? I can't even, make it through school. But, where there's a will, there's a way. And I think what we have to understand is that there's more than one way. There's not just one way. And when we have that ability to think outside the box, look at our tools and gifts and skills and talents that we have within, sharpen them and figure out, okay, which tool do I need to use what? That's when we become authentic. That's when we become who we are. Matthew McConaughey had said at one of his speeches, he said something, me too. I think for different reasons, but
but I don't know. What's your reasons?
He's very attractive. He's a very attractive guy. I think he's
an attractive guy. Telling me we ain't got the same reasons. I know he's an attractive guy. He was in Magic Mike. Come on, man.
Well, yes.
Wasn't in Magic Mike for a reason.
Yes.
Didn't stand alongside Channing Tatum for a reason.
For the record, I do share a birthday with Channing Tatum, just so you know.
That's pretty cool.
But he said, when you're trying to figure out who you are, first of all, figure out who you don't want to do. Do a process of elimination. I don't want to be this way. I don't want to be this way. And then you kind of close in the lens of who you really are. And I thought that was so powerful. And my mentor, Mr. Les Brown, is like, vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of awareness and courageousness. And I thought that was like, very amazing, because these are two individuals, different stature, different backgrounds, but at the same token, this is why I am so, I don't want to say admirable, but I'm very grateful to learn about them, because they remember where they've been. And if we can just have our leaders anywhere, any realm, even in the employment industry, remember, you didn't get CEO overnight. You had to do, and I think that's what attracts me to a lot of individuals. And when I saw your potential and your growth, when I saw the posts that you offered of your podcast, I was just like, this is somebody I want to work with. This is somebody I want to collaborate with, because not only the component of integrity, transparency, and passion, but he's going to get to the root cause, and he's going to know where he's been and where he's going.
Believe you me, I know exactly what my aims are and my goals.
But I mean, a lot of people try to sugarcoat it and just want that 3-piece suit and say, that's who I am now. And I'm not a fan of that. I was just like, look, know where you've been, because that's what's going to make you flourish. And that's what's going to make people rise and unite with you rather than conquer and divide.
The fun fact is, most people look at this conversation, we're like two-dimensional in a way. We're on a 2D screen, but with 3-dimensional people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's there's a lot that people don't quite understand when they're just looking at that screen and looking at a conversation. It's just two-dimensional. There's a conversation going on, but there's way more going on. There's me and you physically talking now. There's that third dimension, but there's also an emotional aspect. There's tons and tons going on. And it's a very strange thing. Do you want to just take a little brief intermission? Because this is a fantastic, it's a fantastic show. And unfortunately for me, due to the fact that I was an hour and a half early, I decided to double up on my liquid intake. So,
No problem. Yeah, we can take a brief intermission. No problem.
nice one. Just give me about 3 minutes, if that.
Yes,
I'm normally
I can
pretty
grab
quick.
something to eat. Drink. Excuse me.
And we're back, folks. Luckily, I, emptied myself like a goddamn camelback that you put in your rucksack there. Aha! Straight back in. Maybe. Yeah, volume. Aha. Sorry about that. It was,
We're good.
like I said, I got to the, I'd got on it early and I had a cup of coffee and perked up and, well, you know how that works. But,
Yes.
but no. So what's, we'll kick back straight into the show.
Yes.
Now, just bear with me a second.
No problem.
It's all right. The problem is I'm a heavy smoker. It's one of my biggest vices in my life. That and the fact I'm a semi-functioning alcoholic, some would say, allegedly. But I've got like this whole mess of notes I've got in front of me. Not that it really matters. It was getting pretty philosophical there as well until I had to disappear. So, who are some of your favourite speakers?
So some of my favorite speakers, definitely that I've been studying over the years. Obviously, my mentor, Mr. Les Brown.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into him because
He's amazing.
I know I used to love motivational speaking because of the many weird random jobs I've had, but
Right.
I've not heard of him, so I'll have to look into him.
Yes, definitely check him out. Wayne Dyer, Eric Thomas,
I've heard of
Tony
Eric Thomas.
Robbins, Eric Thomas, Tony
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Robbins.
Same for Tony Robbins.
Greg Platt was a workout kind of.
Oh yeah. I know the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of male figures, to be honest. Like I said, I mean, growing up when I was young, I was the only female for several years. So when, the women were in the kitchen cooking up an amazing Italian cuisine, I was out in the field playing football with my cousins. So
So
yeah, I had a lot of.
That's a strange one.
Influence with that.
Why were they cooking Italian cuisine?
So my mother's Italian, my father's Irish. So
Oh.
in the kitchen for hours and hours. I was like, yeah. I'll be
To be honest, this sounds super crazy, but I've always wanted to be in one of them environments because I love Italian food, and I've always wanted to be in that kitchen when it's just like, I don't know, 5 or 6 women all smash and they smash one of the greatest meals ever. I've been to Italy a few times and
Oh wow.
bang, the food's amazing, but I've always wanted to be in that environment. Just whoa.
I look back at it now. I was like, wow, I could have learned so much.
Oh yeah.
But
I mean,
didn't. I was out with my cousins. We were on the football field in the rain, snow, sleet, sun, sweltering heat, playing football in the street or on the field, And I remember, one of the most amazing cuisines that they stirred up was not only is every Sunday, the Italian meals, but definitely Christmas was just all the trimmings, you name it, from it was a feast all the time, and fortunately my husband has been able to adapt a lot of their recipes, and so the legacy lives on through him, thank goodness.
being Irish, it's a strong adaptation.
Yeah, well my father was Irish, my mother was Italian.
Yeah.
And so my husband, he's from the islands, and he just would watch and just be so attentive, and he would just watch all the different.
To be honest, though, Irish people are pretty good cooks. I'm not gonna lie.
We went to Ireland.
I've worked with a few. They're pretty good.
Beautiful place on earth. Audience, if you have not been to Ireland,
Where'd you go?
there. We did the Brendan tours. So started in
Okay.
Belfast and went all the way through Dublin. And we were invited to an Irish wedding on the elevator from a young couple. You know, like everybody had the gift of gab and they were
Yep.
talking and they were like, oh, my husband does the accent like impeccably. I can, but he's like, oh, where are you from? And we're like, America's like, obviously we know where you're from. We're like, oh, the tri-state area. And they're like, we're getting married tomorrow. We'd love for you to come. And we're like, oh, no, that's okay. And they're like, and the guy got like really like insulted. He's like, no, we would love for you to come. And we're like,
Yeah.
okay. So I got to dance with the bride's father and we had an amazing time. It was so awesome. It was really cool.
That's amazing.
Enjoyed. Yeah.
See, it's one of those things. I mean, I used to be able to be really good at accents, but I don't try it anymore.
Right.
I need to walk off into the woods for a week and nail them all. But
I love the accents. I like your accent. I love it. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. It's it's terrible. It's not that great. It's not quite common English, but it's sort of a midway. I'd like
I
to
don't know
imagine.
if this is an insult or not after the big one I gave you as far as a compliment. I hope this is not
Oh,
an
no.
insult, but I watch Top Gear or, Grand
Okay.
Tour,
Yep.
and those guys are hysterical.
Yeah, I love them. I'm a
Jeremy
huge fan.
Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and
Yeah.
James May. I love them. So
They're brilliant.
I can listen to European accent all day, every day.
Well, the strange thing is for years people thought they were so stupid, but none of them are.
No,
They're all
they're
super
not.
fucking intelligent
Oh my
guys.
gosh. Very,
Like,
very intelligent.
and what people fail to realise is, oh, that dude, like Jeremy Clarkson, for example. People go, oh, he's stupid. No, he's doing that for the cameras. If he was stupid, he wouldn't be making you watch him right now. He wouldn't be making the fat dough and making you discuss him
Yes.
week after week for his stupidity and buffoonery. That is an intelligent man. Get the fuck out of here. It's market employees. Come on.
He's awesome.
But he's very funny. I love the dude as well. He's does a lot of farming nowadays, which I'm a big
I
big
saw
fan
that
of.
episode. I was like, how do you have that much farm? Well, he is,
Well,
very
yeah,
wealthy. Not gonna lie, but yeah, we watched one episode of the farming
Clarkson's farm.
series, Clarkson's farm, and I was just like, I got so depressed. I was like, oh my gosh, why would you do that? And you said it's marketing and everything, but I was just like, wow.
A fun
Okay, I
fact
felt so
to that,
sad for the farmers. I have such a higher respect for farmers.
It's a very long day. I'm not gonna
Yes.
lie, but
Yeah.
the fun part about it is that he does stuff at cheaper than price. So he had a lot of controversy about it, I think, because he was underpricing retail supermarkets. And
Wow.
well, why can't you? You're a
Yeah.
fucking multi-millionaire. Let's give back. But
Absolutely.
wow, the powers that be didn't allow that. So he had a lot of shit about it, and then obviously
Yeah.
there was a lot to it. There was tons of stuff, but this was his own personal farm, and then obviously
Yeah.
now he's got a show about it, and it's on Amazon.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
I watched it.
I don't know.
it.
I don't know what's going on there.
So,
The deal.
someone's smiling to the bank somewhere.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. He's a smart guy as well because
Very
he's got
intelligent.
he's got properties in places like Monaco and where there's no tax. So it's not
right.
it's not quite tax evasion because if you've got that property and you own it, you still have some sort of shit to pay.
Right.
You don't just live there rent free. You're still paying into the country when you go there.
Exactly.
You've bought the house flat out.
Right.
Who cares about tax if you've paid $1 million whatever it is for it?
Right.
And then you go there every year, and then
Not
you
like
pay.
You didn't work for it either. You work
Absolute-
for that money.
No, I know absolutely. It worked his bollocks off. I love some of their long trips that they do.
Yes.
They're the best.
I watched every episode of them. I love them. I'm sorry. I love them. They're just awesome because it's like just the tongue-in-cheek comedy that they have, but also just the amazing places they've been. And I love cars, so
I was
that's
waiting
all of it.
for. Again, you said this was the opposite of the compliment. I was waiting for that. Where was it?
You sound like Jeremy Clarkson, like not Jeremy, but like probably a mix between James May and Jeremy.
Oh,
the
right, okay.
accent. And I was like, is that a compliment or not, is that an insult?
Yeah, well, that's a strange one because I sound pretty much like my dad. And
Okay. Well, I hope so.
there's this weird genetic thing with males in our family where we all look and sound the same.
Right.
But
Right.
there's mild differences, obviously. But
Right.
so I don't know. I could almost now. I almost have to now imagine my dad and cross referencing those two
Well,
because
just
so
close
many
your
people
eyes
can.
while you're looking at your dad and listen to
Yeah.
Jeremy and do the opposite.
No,
the other one.
I can almost imagine it. I think it's because I mean I think.
Well, Jeremy has a deeper voice.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is
His
I've got
face.
a really deep voice, and I gained that as soon as I was about 11. I hit puberty
Wow.
pretty fast. I'm sure I got it sooner than then, but it's fun times,
Yes.
getting hairy knuckles when you go into secondary school, like Robin Williams. It's
Aw.
very fun, very fun. It's all right. It's why I use a lot of like ape-like descriptions, like my logo as well, because
Right.
hair is fuck man down my back, and I don't care.
European. It's the way you're made.
Yeah,
Different,
they can't, absolutely they can't. So obviously you do the accountability stuff.
Yes.
Has there been any weird moments that have counteracted you? Because it's a weird thing, accountability, where to make someone accountable for their actions is a tricky thing to do. And I'm sure that you've had people that have come to you with weird circumstances. Now, I know that you can't specifically talk about them because of, oh no, there might be some sort of confidentiality, but
Absolutely.
you ever had any weird moments where you're like, this is pretty tricky,
Well, I try to, like as you know, as an empath and being passionate with your work, I try to kind of gain the perspective of the individual I'm working with. Why is this important? Why would you want to achieve this at this age? Or you have these statures of your lifestyle, but yet your goals and dreams are pretty basic.
Okay.
So it's interesting when you work with individuals because you have some of the individuals where they're maybe at level B per se, and they want to get to Z. And you're like, all right, let's take it one step at a time. Let's crawl before we learn to walk. And you don't want to get frustrated on their pace, because when I started this out, I was like, okay, what do I have? I have 2 decades of personal development experience in social work and psychology. I have my own, series of my own life that I've been through.
Yep.
And how do I what makes me, well, not even relate to it, but kind of adapt it and customize it to them? Because in the beginning, I was just like, okay, here are the steps, here are the manuals that I feel would be the best tools for you. Then when I really got into a deeper dive of it and understood the person, well, this is how I learn. This is my environment. This is my financial. This is my emotional. This is my mental. I had to then rewire and kind of learn different personality types, different temperaments, different learning styles. There's a lot to it. And
variables.
When I would see somebody, like you said, Tim, you don't never judge a book by its cover. And I would be like, wow, you look like this on social media or your website or what have you. And then you want to do this. And I was just like, but you're here. Why do you want to start so basic? And that's what makes me different. I get to the root cause because they've gotten to that level at a certain point for a certain reason, whether it's with guidance or knowledge. But now they really want to hone into it and apply it on all levels, all dynamics. And that's what I help people to do.
It's not necessarily a downgrade, but it's more a step into reality. It's like, if they've got this huge influencer social media presence and then they just go, man, this is fucking tiresome. Right, and it kind of is, because it's 20, if you're an influencer, that is boom. Yeah. You're not firing 6 shots. You've got a goddamn minigun and you're firing pictures out, you're firing your life out, and it's going on and on. Yeah. And you've got almost unlimited rounds up until you personally decide to go, hey, I've got to pull this now. I've got to fucking put the safety on, because otherwise it's going to go keep going and get out of control.
Exactly. And that's what really was the reality and the appreciation piggybacking to what I said earlier in the show with podcasters, we're only seeing one perspective. And if you look at movies today or even TV shows today, it's a skewed perspective. And, my husband's in photography. He's also, has other jacks of all trades, professional comedian and a technician and all that stuff. Comedian. And you look at it and you're like, wait a minute. And then when they show, like, for example, I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans, but I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. And we looked at the behind the scenes of The Mandalorian. And I was just like, this is disappointing. I'm thinking it's a huge, old school screen and all these things. And it's literally in a closet. Some of the scenes are that. And I'm just like, as a parent and as somebody who, and you can relate, as a parent, as somebody who wants the truth, I'm ready for the truth. I don't want to hear nothing but the truth. And I was just like, well, that's, kind of going back to the Tooth Fairy Santa thing. Like, it is real, but it's not, you know what I mean? And it's just, I really fear for our next generations because they see, I just want to do YouTube. But you and I know doing YouTube is a lot of work. It's not just picking up a camera and blogging every day. It's editing, timing and effects and tonality and engagement, learning how to look at a camera like you're sitting right in front of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that getting back to where it was, the original question, some weird requests from the candidates that I work with, you see them as, on a pedestal on social media, but they're like really need repairs and refinements on the core, on the inner core of things,
One thing I do is I always have my camera off to this weird angle. Because I've always found it weird. If I'm staring at the camera like that, it's almost off-putting. You see what I'm saying?
I was wondering, why are you sideways? And then you did the frontal. I was like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, there is a strategic reason. I'm looking at you. My camera is at this little 45 degree. It's a very strategic angle. Yeah. But the problem is because again my monitor's hit like here.
Right.
So it's almost like my camera is perfectly in line.
Right.
Like with where my arm is, but my monitor is about 30 degrees off.
Right.
But it's off just enough where. Because again, I don't like these weird. If people just stare like that, it looks it looks strange.
Right.
It looks weird, especially considering I smoke. And when I do open my eyes fully, I look like all this weird. Look at that. It's crazy. It doesn't look good. So even then, I've got I'm positioned to the point I can just stare. I can look at you, but I'm almost face on.
Right.
It's a great weird perspective, but you can't quite see it. It looks like it doesn't even look like I have eyes sometimes. It doesn't even look like they're open.
You're looking down. It's like, wait.
But
for
I can.
This was hard because I want to engage with the audience.
Oh yeah.
And when I first started, I was like, this looks weird. I can't even see the host, So that's why every now and again I'll look down to kind of, get the body language, the energy, and all that.
Oh yeah. No, I feel what you're saying. It's just I can't stare at a camera, and if I was to put the monitor in front of it, I think it'd be too much. I'd rather not look at the camera.
Right.
And in doing so, I'd rather create an angle where I can almost look flush, but I can pay more attention to you. And I've not got to really be face on.
Right.
I'm half face on now, and I've got this sort of downward. It's a very strange angle, but
but I like it. It gives
it works. It's my own weird perspective. But again, I only base this upon. Don't even blame me. I'm a huge Stanley Kubrick fan, so I've based a lot of my weird angles and lighting upon him. Right. It's like why this skull's completely half black but white. It's why it's very shadowed.
Right.
There's weird shadows like the curve in the corner.
Yeah.
I've got weird angles.
I like the environment you're in. Very rustic. I like it. Very cool. We need a lot of hashtags in this. We've talked about Wayne Dyer, Les Brown, Matthew McConaughey. Steve. What was the guy's name? Steve. What was it? Or was it? But the guy you just mentioned? Did I totally mess his name up? You said this is not my way of sitting. This is
Oh, this is Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley
It's
Kubrick. I had the ST right.
there's a weird like parallel 30-ish degree
Gotcha.
angle. It's a
Yeah.
good one
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm still engaging. There's been
absolutely.
not a single inconsistency,
right.
and yeah, I've looked at you the whole time, even if it looks like I've been asleep.
It's all good. It's all good.
But my my words would say different. So Matthew McConaughey, what do you like about him a lot? Because
I like about his realness, because what he is in movies is what he is on, when I've seen him live. Well, not live, but, when he's not in movies, when he's doing an interview or something, he's down to earth. He gets a lot of slack from audience, but he still pushes on. And that's what's that are very intriguing,
what's your favorite film?
Matthew McConaughey film. Jeez, let's see.
You ever seen The Lincoln Lawyer? That's a bad film.
No, I have not seen that. I have to see that. I've seen all the funny ones, the romantic comedies, and then Dazed and Confused, Magic Mike. Nothing groundbreaking or earth shattering.
Oh.
I should, but I do have his audio book. That I want to read.
Have you seen
Green something?
What about Gold? Gold's a good one.
Yes, I saw that. That's a good one.
About the
Yes.
gold rush.
Yes.
He does a lot of semi-biopic films,
Yes.
and he plays it really well.
And I think one of the interviews was he was like offered like a ridiculous amount of money to be that, all right guy. And he's like, no, man, I want to do something different. I want to change my repertoire and whatnot. And I think that to me, just like, the others individuals that have come full circle and transparent, I think that's something that really is attractive to any individual.
Oh, yeah.
That they're able to say, nah, man, I'm not going to follow. And one of my quotes is follow your heart and not the herd, for the herd will get you hurt. And I think that really resonates with me with a lot of the influencers that I follow or watch or listen to, because if you have the capacity, the strength and the courage to go against, something that everybody wants you to do, that's most admirable, because you are really, truly doing you. You know what I mean?
It's like the way that the word sheep's overplayed now.
Yes.
It's like, well, you're just a sheep and all that. It's like, yeah, but there's multiple different flocks of sheep.
Exactly.
Which is, and that's kind of the way it is now. We're all different. There's so many variables with people.
Right.
Tons and tons of variables. What do you think about this just as a theory / concept? It's almost so hard to put down.
Okay.
So again, it's like, I'm not saying that you can guess what people are going to do, but if you almost gain a certain amount of knowledge about these different, let's say, flocks, calling back to what we just said, or people, you can almost gain a certain amount of patterns, if that makes sense. Because a lot of people follow certain traits and they're so easy to distinguish. It's like when you're in a relationship and it's about to go bad. It's like, well, how do we know that? There's this weird instinct, that gut feeling. And I've got this weird sort of theory, but it's almost so difficult to really out just because of the variables. There's so many, but you can almost sort of guess what people are going to do when they're going to plan a moment, because you can base it, and there's so many variables that it is hard to pinpoint at it. But I'm not saying it's not hard to do if you had all of that information. It's like the people that are in the government have information about millions and millions of people, and they can almost, in terms of advertising, guess what they want because of gained information. Now you can break that down and go further down the line in terms of just people and human emotions and situations and the environment. And if you've been through X amount of those, and then you encounter people that have almost been through the same circumstances, you can almost go, hey, I know how this is going to go. Most of the time it works in relationships and with minor friendships. But you got any thoughts upon that? I call it the blueprint theory because there's certain blueprints to life where, you know, you wake up in the morning, you know what's going to happen if it's all scheduled.
And I think it's, I totally relate and I totally understand what you're saying. It's habitual rituals that people,
Yeah.
incorporate, but at the same token, you can almost predict their circumstances and their outcomes because of the lifestyle that they led. You don't need to know a lot about the individual,
Nope.
but I think what we have as empaths and our heightened awareness, we're able to see it a lot more clearly than other individuals. In other words, per saying lifting the veil per se, and when we have that intuition, and what really allowed me to grow through this journey was people's intentions. Once I tapped it into people's intentions and incentives, my circle got really, really small. And, also from being unplugged, because it's just amazing how we can just, be caught in this whirlwind of perspective. And when you, for example, I'm trying to think of a light topic. For example, if you were to say, you know what, Tim, I saw this amazing restaurant. It has all these amazing fruitful flavors, and your palate will just explode with all the different types of things. If I know you, you would do the reviews, you would do your research, you would get an informed opinion or perspective per se, and then you may or may not immediately, but down the road, decide when to go to that restaurant. Now, other individuals, you have the people pleasers, the people who are unable to think for themselves, the people who will just follow the herd. And when I did this video some time ago, why are we not asking why? I was always reprimanded as a child from my peers and my teachers. Andrea, you ask a million questions. Yeah, because I want to know the answers.
The answers.
And nobody, and I used to just, I really wasn't, I had to work 10 times harder in school. So I had found the outlet of music and sports to kind of keep me at bay.
Was that because of ethnicity? Or was that...
You know what it was? I think it was because of being bullied, my ethnicity. I just learned differently. And when I was in school, there was only one cookie cutter way. You read something, you had a test.
Right, okay.
And it's not far from that now. But, I'm a visual learner. I'm a visual learner. So if you were going to say, all right, Andrea, this is how you do a podcast, I would need you to sit here with me. I would watch you do it, observe you do it, take my own notes, do a reflection, try it hands-on, and then I would master it after maybe 2 or 3 times.
No, makes sense.
If I read a book, forget it. You want to put me to sleep, put a book in front of me. I don't learn that way. That's why I do a lot of audio books. And so what I feel was that, when I did pique interest into a certain subject or topic in school, I would raise my head. Well, why? Well, that's just the way it is. No, why? And people would get, frustrated. But even today, this very moment, on Monday, August 23rd, I still ask why. And people are, well, that's just the way it is. When did the human race stop asking questions and just settle for things as it is? And if we are able to tap into that, and do some self-exploration, do the quote-unquote work to find out our own answers, just imagine where we would be. Well, and a lot of people are fearful of that.
It's a very good question, because at the minute there's tons and tons of questions out there, but it's just being buried by the news. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's so many. And again, my show's mostly like paranormal shit, aliens, supernatural stuff, and this was something that come out, was this Pentagon file that was, well, it was a flop. It was a big flop.
Yeah.
Which was pretty crap. People were waiting. So many people I can't imagine how many numbers, but it wasn't just as widespread as America, where they was releasing it, because I was looking into it. I'm in the
Right.
UK, so you're telling me, oh, this is just this one country?
Right.
I think there's multiple, tons that were waiting for this information, and it was a flop.
Right.
But it was funny because it also then made me do a whole mess of my own research. Not that I don't anyway,
Right.
but during my week off, which was very fun, is I read several different heftily amounts of documents, which was, well, it was time consuming. When I say I have time, when I say I have time off, that's how I spend it.
But that's tapping into your intellect, really challenging your brain and altering your perspectives. You know, a great example, and I always give examples when, you know, people are kind of like, whatever, man. Our son, we like to go to air shows, car shows, powwows, and all that
That's cool.
stuff, you know. And we were at a Native American festival, powwow. And we were sitting waiting for the ceremony to begin. And I don't know how old he was, but he was a lot younger. He was probably, I don't know, between the ages of 5 and 7. And he was sitting with this other boy, and they were talking. And I don't know how this came up. And my husband and I were just like in front with the umbrella, kind of blocking the sun. And they were just kind of sitting diagonal to us, right? And so the young boy goes to my son, you know what? My mom said that there's no such things as aliens. And so my son, and I'm like, oh man, so my husband and I just, you know, when you connect eyes, you're like, well, I can't wait to see what's going to come out of his mouth.
That is a great question.
So my son says, well, so what? No, he goes, my mom says there's no such thing as aliens, you know, and I kind of agree with her. What do you think? And my son said, no prompting, nothing. He says, well, that's funny. Why does she feel like there's no aliens? And he replied, well, because she hasn't seen one. My son's response, well, has she seen God? Because if she, you know, she hasn't seen him, she believes that he's there. And we were just like, mic drop, jaw open, wow. You know, but this is what I'm saying, like the questions of these children, these generations, like, you know, a lot of our children take for granted and take for face value what our parents say. But at the same token, we also have to kind of think, okay, well, what other answers or options are there outside of our parents? Not that it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but like you do your own personal research. You know, my best friend, God rest his soul, he would read all of these books, and he would kind of be the instigator at a party or at a social event. He knew that there was a diversity, and he would just challenge them. But then he would come up with these findings that they didn't read because they only read this book or only watched this show.
I don't do that.
It's just like, wow. And so my message out there is just, there's always more than one way. Going back to the skewed perspective of movies and cinema and social media today, really, really tap into it. Start asking questions, because when we stop asking questions, that's when we just settle. And that's when we're stagnant.
What are your thoughts on aliens?
You know? I'm sorry?
What are your thoughts on aliens?
I believe they're out there. I mean, they might even be amongst us being on Earth, you know? Who's to say that they're not?
I've got a whole bunch of I like to make up bullshit theories, and then I like to just weave some stuff in. But again, I think that we've been here a lot longer than we have.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
In terms of technology, I just think we've been obliterated time and time again.
Oh, absolutely.
By comet after comet or whatever. And because, you know, this planet's been here for a long time. You're telling me a few thousand years were what we were here? Get out of town. Come on, man. Right. Probability would fuck those numbers up right away.
I just think I think the biggest thing is we only use a small percentage of our mind. And if we were able to use that full capacity, we would be prepared to understand more. But I think we're just so programmed and limited. It'll be detrimental for some of us.
Excuse me. We do that, but the problem is the film Lucy made that seem like it was bullshit.
Right.
Like we was using this minimalistic percent, and that if we unlocked this whatever ridiculous percentage that we could, break time barriers. And I don't think that was really the case. I know that we are significantly, there's parts of your brain that you drop.
Yeah.
But when you turn from an adult to a child to an adult, sorry, that's a fact. And, you don't really get any of that back. Right. Even though you'd go, hey, yeah, but my brain's bigger. And it's like, yeah, but certain areas needed to be bigger. Because otherwise you're not going to delve into society in a decent way,
Right, absolutely. And I mean, I think there's so much more potential. And like I said, that goes back to accountability. Yeah. We either settle or we put limits in front of ourselves and then wonder why are we, stuck. We are in our own way. And that's the biggest obstacle I feel a lot of people struggle with. It's like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. Well, are you willing to do what it takes to get it? And if not, nobody else is to blame but you. And that's what makes me stick out as a coach. A lot of individuals have templates, exercises, mind, body, and soul, and to each his own. But I'm not sitting in Tim's, head while he wakes up in the morning. I don't know if he stubbed his toe. I don't know if he got into a spat with his family. I don't know if he, was tired from the night before. I don't know if he just had, an amazing time with his family and is in a happy mood. So I don't dictate and I don't lecture, and I listen and I learn and say, okay, what is it that you want to achieve? Let's walk with it together.
All of those are in the same bubble.
Right.
All of those have happened to me. This is what I was saying. Within this week, talk about that blueprint.
Yep.
I did stub my toe and it fucking hurt. I did have a little spat with my family.
I knew I felt something.
We're going out tomorrow.
Yeah.
He was pretty much on the ball there. That's why I was like, when you was reeling them off, I was like, these are getting super, super realistic. Especially when you said stub my toe. That was
I told you. That's when I
fucking hurt. Then on a piece of marble this time.
Was it your pinky toe?
No, my big toe.
Your big toe.
No, I've done. It's a funny story. I used to live with a guy called Mick.
Okay.
It's very, very rare that I actually shout his name out in any of these stories, but I'm going to put one of these stories out there. He used to live with me after one of my breakups, and he used to have copious amounts of accidents. And I remember, like, once, because he used to sleep downstairs and I used to have upstairs. Like, we had a child at this point, and then obviously my ex and the child moved out and decided to leave me with a house and some debt, which was very, very fun. And but also I moved a friend in, and it was, but he used to sleep downstairs. And one night I heard all this crazy banging, like,
oh my goodness,
really bad banging, and I was like, what is going on here? And this wasn't one of the first sort of mixed situations. I was going to put that out there. And I thought nothing of it. And then the following morning I come down and I was like, what was that banging? And he was like, mate, you want to see my thumb? He was like, for some reason, and I don't even know why, and he'd bashed in his thumb and his foot in the same night. So what he'd somehow done was he went to get a glass out the cupboard, went to shut the cupboard door, but left his thumb in the way. And bear in mind, again, we smoke a lot. And he woke up, and we were smoking a lot at this point. And he woke up so high that he was trying to shut the cupboard door on his thumb. To the point it indented his thumb. And I must have heard about 6 bangs.
Oh my God.
Before I heard like an, you bastard sort of noise, And that wasn't it. Then he'd come back through to the living room and then banged his big toe on the door. But what he'd done was caught up in it. So he'd come through, banged his foot, like stepped round the door, went mad at the door because, again, he had smashed in his hand, caught his toe,
Oh my
and then he went to slam the door and slammed it right over his big toe, the same toe that had banged. It was, in terms of probability, someone was sitting there in God's casino putting their odds on that, going, listen, he's gonna fucking do this, my friend. And everyone's like, that is not gonna happen. And everyone was like, listen, it was crazy. But obviously the next day it showed me these crazy marks, and he'd had this huge line going over his thumb. Like, obviously it was like over where his like joint of this thumb was.
Right.
And then obviously over his toe, which was his right foot.
Oh.
And it was just like, I was like, man, that's crazy. It's one of my many mixed stories. It was the first. There's multiple amounts of them. I'm sure I might have mentioned one before, but I don't know. But it was pure pain. What's the most pain?
I was wincing when I heard that.
Yeah, it was
repetitive. That's painful.
I don't know how he done it. There's been many moments. I worked with a guy once, so I'm not going to dive all to the story, but there was a moment that was truly, I can't get into it now. I'll put it on another show. But it was great. I'm going to start putting out a lot more of my own little fucking life stories, because some of them are fucked up, man. What's one of the craziest painful things that's happened to you?
All right, you ready for this?
You can't count childbirth. Again, I've been there watching childbirth, and it is painful.
Yes.
But that we have to exclude that, because I know that's painful, but that's a different level of pain.
That's a different level of pain. Yes. So probably the most painful. So I was supposed to go on a blind date. And it was in an unfamiliar area. So I was like young in high school. So my parents took me to a sporting event. The person played, hockey. So I was like, all right. So my parents had taken me to the hockey arena. We were kind of getting our bearings, waiting for the game to start. And there was a game in action. So we should have realized why everybody was standing up. Well, we sat down to watch the end of the game. Well, truth be told, we're checking out the surroundings, and I forgot what the terminology is. They square off, I guess, to start the next period.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So what happened was my father was on one side, my mother was on the other side, and all of a sudden they heard whoosh. The puck came over the rails, hit me hit me right on my forehead and right on my nose, and broke like everything. And it was crazy. So that had to be the most pain first of all, I didn't know what happened. And kudos to the staff. They came out like wildfire and just took care of everything. But it was just so, and then I played soccer as an athlete in school. So I've gotten many concussions. Probably shouldn't have played while I still had the concussions, not like today's game where you would sit out the rest of the game. But I've had multiple ones, in playing soccer, football over in the UK. And
I think it's a difference. You play football and it's namby-pamby bullshit.
Right,
you actually play soccer and it's the way that fucking football should be.
Yes.
I think that is the first time I've ever heard that as an analogy.
Yes.
And I'm gonna run with it, because football, I don't really like it. Talking about English football.
Right.
Not American football.
Right.
I'm not saying that's namby-pamby, but I'm saying English football. I'm just saying that for the listeners, just in case someone goes, American football, namby-pamby. Get the fuck out of here. No, that's hardcore. No, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. But English football, they have these bullshit fucking fake trips, and they're flailing all over the ground. Sometimes it does hurt when you get a stud in the leg. Yeah. But sometimes you can see the bullshit. Yeah. But however, you look at it in different countries and it's fucking real stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've literally gotten smashed in the face of like 100 feet from an opponent, headbutting, trying to do.
That's how they should play it.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I tore my MCL, my PCL, my you name it. It's ridiculous. And so that was probably the hardest
Tore your
painful,
MCL.
because when I got hit with that puck, I mean, we're talking a puck about what, maybe about an inch and a half, maybe a little bit more. I'm not really good. Right into the head. That was crazy. And the worst but funniest part was the guy that I was supposed to meet thought I stood him up. And I was like, well, did you see on the news when, or the local circular? They're like, yeah, I was supposed to go on. We were supposed to play a game, but the ambulance came up because someone got hurt in the stands. I was like, yeah, that was me. That was me. I was getting ready to watch you play, and I got hit from a previous game. And he's like, oh my gosh.
Wild.
Like, no helmet, nothing, just.
That's a great. Do you know, that is a great story.
Yeah,
you've got a good nose, man. Considering it's been busted.
Oh yeah, no, it's crazy, and I mean, my face was like ridiculous. It was like raccoon. I mean, I had a gap. I mean, I don't know if you could see it, but there was like a scar. It was so deep. It went this way, and then to break my nose went down. And I was just, it was crazy. It was crazy. That was probably the most painful experience.
I mean, I've had my nose broke several times, but never by a puck. Probably going about 90 miles an hour. Or
easy.
And at least. Yeah. That it's just, I mean, I've had a few balls hit me in the face.
Right.
But I mean, I've got a deviated septum. That's my problem, because it just, it's like, the males in my family have all got the same nose.
Okay.
Like, it's so strange, but it also seems to always get really fucked up for some reason, and it's just crazily mangled. Oh, wow. I need to get it fixed at some point, but it's not exactly on my to-do list.
Right. It's not a priority. Other things,
I've
precedent off of that.
I've heard that the procedure for a deviated septum is they scrape out some of your they scrape out some of the cartilage, and then they have two tubes up either side.
Oh my God.
So essentially you're breathing out of these tubes, and I can't do that for a week.
No,
it stays. I'm not doing that. I'd rather
like eucalyptus or Vicks vapor rub under my nose so I can breathe to open up the airways. It's a lot easier.
I am looking into problem is that I have to clear it like twice a day, because it's just so always on this left side. It's just so mangled. Mangled to fuck, because it's all snapped over to whatever side. I don't know how it works internally. Yeah. But how did you feel? I mean, because for someone that had a puck to the face, that's crazy.
It was, I fell back. According to my folks, I fell backwards. There was like 2 pools of like blood, and then they pulled me forward, and they just pinched it, and then they had to reset it at the stadium, and then I had to go get it whatever at the hospital. But yeah, it was just, I was like, really? Wow. I was like, like I said, this happens now. I'm just trying to get my bearings and see what's going on and meet this guy, and this happens.
Trying to hook into a relationship, and next thing you get a puck between the eyes.
Yeah, and it's man, it was so crazy.
That's a crazy story.
Yeah.
What about when you've been doing motivational talks? Have you had any crazy moments there? Because there seems to be. I mean, I've spoke to a few people. I spoke to like a hypnotist and a couple of like motivational speakers, and I mean, I've got a few little stories, but some of them are pretty random, and I wouldn't really say that they revolve around the subject.
Yeah.
But it was just whilst I was doing said job. But have you got any weird moments?
Like, as far as give me an example of
yeah, so have you ever had someone come to you, and then you're like, to be a client, and then you've had to go, this is a bit fucking random, this is a bit.
What it is, since I've been virtual, I'm touching all corners of the world. I've spoken on almost every continent, and to understand the language and the culture, In the Middle East, they call me mom or ma'am. Some say mom,
Oh,
and it's kind of like, oh, okay.
where is it?
I wasn't used to it, and I was just like, that's interesting to be called
Is
mom
that
or
why
ma'am.
your nickname's Little Mama?
No, that was actually from my
Okay,
height, stature, and
okay.
everything else. But that's a good way to circle
I
back to
thought that
that.
I thought that's what it was. I had it in my
Yes.
notes because I go through people's Facebook a
Yeah.
little. I go through their about info and I go, let's see if we can find something random.
Yeah.
And
No,
then I
that's
see in this nicknames, Little Mama. I was like, we're
yes.
gonna have to get into that. And then you just said Mama, and I was
Yes.
like, wow,
Now that
segue.
actually can be added now as an addendum, but no, because so I am very petite, and so, but I had, a lot of people joke that, I have a Napoleon, personality, that I'm always my bite is always bigger than my bark,
Totally.
and so, to get that, it's just like I was always have the mothering nurturance, but because of my petite chest, they say little mama, kind of like in that
Okay.
regards. But the probably, getting to the question of the difficulties with, upcoming candidates or, to work with individuals is definitely the culture and the verbiage. When I first started out, they would be like, yes, ma'am, queen, or mom, or ma. And I didn't really understand it. But when I did a deeper dive, like I said, I always ask questions. That's, a status, a rank of like authority or high respect, high
Yeah,
regard.
yeah.
And for me, it was difficult. And, to kind of say, hello, queen, how are you? Yes, ma'am, or yes, mom. And I was just kind of taken aback. And so,
Well, it's like hand gestures in different countries.
yes,
You go to
absolutely.
certain countries, a thumbs up is a fucking no.
Yes,
Even
absolutely.
the
The
okay
okay
sign.
sign. Yep.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. There's
very,
tuts.
yeah,
There's a little finger under the thumb, sort of fig type thing.
right.
There's a few. It's the same sort of thing. Same.
Yeah. And
It's tricky.
that's what allows me to really understand where I'm coming from, because you have these perspectives that the media or the government or these TV have these perspectives about individuals, and it's totally different when you really see behind the scenes. I did an interview with somebody over in Pakistan, and they were just so respectful and high regard.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't what surprised me. But when they showed me where they lived, we did an interview and they were doing live, and they showed me where they lived in these square huts and like
Yeah, yeah.
explosives going on, a couple miles out. I was just like, wow.
But the thing is,
And
it's like you can't imagine the distress and the
absolutely,
hardship that they go through on a daily basis.
absolutely,
It's like there's like a joke when people go, first world problems, and it's like, all right, it's like, come on, man, that's a bit of a fucking. I know it's a phrase or whatever, but it's like,
right.
but there is legitimate third world problems.
Well, I mean, and that's what allowed me to skew my verbiage as I'm, became a global motivational speaker, because I would say I come from a third world country, and I was like, that's not right. And I was like, so I would either say at the time it was underdeveloped, at the time it was that of the cartel, it was a drug torn war zone era, because that's what it really was. And when I connect with individuals, I did a seminar or teaching for women of Africa, and some of the images was just so heartbreaking, and I just wanted to help everyone. And as an empath, it's like,
Yeah.
and for
Even
me, with
when,
my story, I look back and I was like, that could be me. If my family
yeah,
didn't give
yeah.
me up, not only would I be the individuals that they show on TV, or I wouldn't even be here today in front of you if they didn't choose that path
One
for
of,
me.
one of the most weirdest, compelling stories I've ever heard was, do you know Steve-O from Jackass? Everyone's heard of
I've
Jackass.
heard of it, but I don't know who is.
Well, there's a guy called Steve-O. He's one of the basic, stunt man, whatever you want to call him. He does his own podcast, and surprisingly is actually a very smart dude. He does what he does, and is a wild guy. But one of the most compelling things I ever heard him say was the way he was born. Was he was sort of raised. His dad was like the CEO of like Pepsi in some country. Maybe it was like Brazil or something. It was like Peru, where he would somewhere like that.
Okay.
And he was like the president of Pepsi. His dad was. And his mum was a bit of a drunk and living this wild life. Bollocks! I lost my fucking train of thought. Then
Okay.
I knew it would happen.
We were talking about perspectives, and we were talking about, understanding different cultures and how that
It'll
could have
come to
been
me.
how that could have been me.
Steve-O, it'll come to me.
No worries.
Ah, hate that when it happens. It's very rare. Steve-O. I'll remember it. Don't worry. Just bear with me. I was going to say that something that he did.
Yeah.
Where does Steve-O? Fuck it. I'll block it out. If I remember, I'll come back to it. It's why it's a loose show, because I just, it'll probably come back to me in about 20 minutes, and I'll go, I remember what it was. But no, I was hoping to get it then. Do you know when you can roll stuff off the tongue?
Yep, absolutely.
Train myself to do that as well. Are you a fan of neuro-linguistic programming? You come across that? I'll get back to the Steve-O point because I'll come back to it.
Okay,
What's your thoughts on NLP? Because I've spoke to hypnotherapists and people that have. It's a very strange niche thing. Not many people have heard of neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. I'm a big fan of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's, you have to be in their mindset. You have to be in the preparation for it, because a lot of people, again, it's about altered and limited perspective on it. Does it really work? Is it, taboo? Is it something just for people to tap into? And I think that's with anything. I think when you are ready to take that next step, take that risk, and go into an uncomfortable comfort zone, when you go outside of your comfort zone, amazing things definitely will occur, because I really didn't, I was a big thing into, I understood, one of my segments that I work with is mind over matter. And it's the hardest thing for individuals to get. Well, they want instant gratification. They want the immediate gratification and satisfaction. And when you work on that craft, mind over matter, it's amazing what you can manifest. And with the neurological learning, I think if done with an open mind, open heart, and just ready to embrace it, that's when it's gonna be most powerful.
That makes absolute crystal clear sense.
Yeah.
So, the Steve-O segue, because I remembered it. You see, I knew it wouldn't take that long. So what I was saying was basically, there's a celebrity called Steve-O.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we was talking about, being privileged. And again, the dude is extremely privileged now because he's an international superstar. One of the biggest series, it was a big TV series, big film series. But I remember he said that when he was a child, again, his dad was the president of of Pepsi, whatever it was.
Right.
But they did a trip to Africa and they did it in a limousine. And when they got there, they basically pulled up, went into a limousine, and that he was pretty young at the time, but he felt that why did he deserve to be in this limousine when there was people scratching at the car? Just trying to, and they could have been doing it for any singular reason, mainly just because of the cars there and they've never seen it before.
Right.
Maybe because of the poverty, maybe because they needed help. There's tons of variables,
Right.
But it's one of those things where for someone that's in a higher position to go, this is one of my memories. And it was so, like he said that his dad, again, he used to drive around with if he was late for school, he'd have to get a lift with his dad in a limo.
Wow.
And they'd sit in the front seat. So he'd look like he was with the driver rather than with his dad. You know, that's a very weird, humbling
Yeah.
mentality.
Right. Like I'm not, I'm not.
Yeah,
Not that
yeah.
he's not worthy, but I'm just as equivalent as the driver. We're all equal. There's no status rank that I should sit in the back and be, hampered or taken around. You know what I mean?
Well, it was. He said that it was just because that he didn't truly understand why he was, in this sort of weird position.
Right.
And some people, do think that. My a good example is my dad was a manufacturer of gym equipment,
Okay.
and one of the UK's biggest.
Wow.
There's some designs out there that he did quite
awesome.
a lot, to be
Awesome.
quite honest. But I had this weird upbringing where, my dad was extremely busy, and he's also a mountaineer, and he used to go off and do trips and whatever. So I had this weird childhood where my dad wasn't there, but I could also respect what he did.
Right.
And we also lived on here's a strange fun fact. We lived on a council estate. I don't know if you know what they are in like America. So you have an estate where most of it's owned by the government or by the council.
Okay.
And then you have to buy the property, if that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. Okay.
And basically during this time, there was a government scheme where the whole of the nation got, if you lived in a council property, got new windows. There was a new window scheme under some energy thing. And what was so funny about the situation was growing up, the whole neighborhood got brand new windows. But because we was the only people who had a mortgage, we had shit windows. And my dad was like, it doesn't matter right now. Makes no fucking difference. But it was crazy because I went into school and we're like, we got new windows and you got these poor windows. And no one quite understood that, hey, you actually got given those windows for free.
Right. You didn't.
And that actually, we only couldn't get the windows because there was no bullshit scheme that enabled us to get them for free.
Right.
Because my dad paid his mortgage off pretty quick as well. For what would have been a 25-year mortgage, and my parents divorced. I think it was roughly about 15 years.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
It was pretty quick.
Yeah.
But it was during the end of this where it was like, essentially what would have been, 80 grand in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was like, hey, you got all these free windows, but you don't even know how to even get beyond that.
Right. And that kind of
very
goes
strange.
back to what we were talking about is, when you were asked about one of the, experiences in coaching, it's like you have this lavish life. I remember working for a family and I was the caretaker of the home at the time. And
like a faux pas?
Yeah. I was
pas, whatever you call it.
Yeah. And I was like, I lasted 7 days. I was like, this is not for me. And I literally, by maintaining and caring for the home, I lost 7 pounds in a week. And for me, that's not healthy. But anyways, it was just kind of like a reality check because you look at these individuals, and not all, but some have lavish homes, but they don't even understand what it is to work for something, and the appreciative value is so much there's a lot of limit to it. And that's why for me hard work pays off. You appreciate it more, and you really don't understand or have the perspective of what it does. And that's like the cliche, that if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And that cliche really resonates with me because what we do, is very, very hard. It's a lot of work. It's not that it's genius rocket science work, but there's a different levels of hard work, mentally, spiritually, tactile, mathematical, you know what I mean?
Because I know when I first did this, it was just pure audio. There'd be a little bit of video, but again, I wasn't uploading.
Right.
And then as I thought about, I probably should do video. I'm like, well, I'm not just going to do a bullshit video.
Right.
I need to put some production into it. Why
Absolutely.
would you not?
Right.
You can't half-ass the job that you want to do, even if it is a hobby.
Right.
or
Absolutely.
whatever it could be. You're not going to half-ass a hobby.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
And that's what's amazing, when Jim Carrey did his university alumni speech. He's just like, my dad worked for egregious amount of hours, but he's like, if you're gonna work hard, why not do it with something that you love?
Yeah.
And my
I mean,
father too. My father worked on Wall Street. He only saw us with our eyes closed, because he would go in early, work late. He would work some overtime or what have you on the weekends, and he would make it a point to see us at any of our events. But now
yep.
I really appreciate him being here, because
Yeah.
now I'm seeing him like, okay, so this is what you were like as a father to me, because I really, limited, because he was working so hard, but he worked so hard so my parents can retire successfully and happily at the age of
Yep.
55. So we
Not
could get the finer things or go where we would want to go. And you know what I
it's
mean?
not even that. It's, even if let's say, for example, his straight path would have been whatever his intention was.
Right.
Even before he was adopted. Well,
Correct.
then again, he was doing it for that reason, for the fact that if he had children, they'd not only be set for life, and then
Right.
he could retire at whatever given age he goddamn pleased.
Exactly.
And then, again, then if he was adopted, maybe that come into the mix.
Right.
But that didn't make any fucking slight difference whatsoever, because the plan is easily fixable.
Right.
I'm not saying that any of that was. I don't
Right.
have a fucking clue. But most people that are mentally driven have one fucking aspect.
Yes.
The fact that he then adopted was even more
Right.
greater than having a child, because he's giving someone a life who needs it. And now you are where you are, even greater than what most people are.
Right.
So that's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer whatsoever.
And I think that's what we need to instill in individuals. What is your why? Why do you get up every morning? And and it was funny over the last break that I had. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm like, I never really was materialistic, but now I'm just like, wow.
That's a funny one.
What is so great about having items? Like, I want items that are going to help me excel in whatever I do, or be beneficial for longevity in the long run. Longevity as in, my technical equipment, so I can give better content, and upgrade. But I'm like, we're turning it, my family and I are kind of turning towards minimalist, because I'd rather travel and experience life rather than be in debt with life.
One of my previous guests, TK Miller, he's a minimalist, and we had a very strange conversation. I got him booked in pretty quick, so I didn't get to do much research. So some of my questions were very on the fly, but I made sure that there was questions that I'd never asked anybody. In terms of some people will go, "What made you start this podcast?"
Right,
that's standard generic buzzword bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'd just done some mild research, and I can't remember the questions that I did ask, but most of it was intent based. And thank God that my brain decided to click into that 12th gear and go, hey, we can't do this way, because that's just standard shit drivel.
Right.
The dude wants to come on, we're going to be late. Okay, we need to at least give something, rather than just this standard, hey, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Because anyone can do that.
Right.
But maybe they can't do again, like you say, there's this long-term shit that you have to do. You have to do the editing, the researching, that I didn't do. And, that does take time. But it was a very good conversation, because a week later, I was looking at some of my stuff and I was like, I've had this for a while. What the fuck do I need this for? Why am I keeping this?
Right, yeah.
What's its real purpose?
Yeah.
And it didn't have any purpose. It was some decorative thing, and I was like, I wasted this much on this, and oh, look over there, I wasted that much on that.
Yes.
And next thing you know, I'm doing some sort of Minority Report thing with my hands in the room, clocking how much I've fucking spent and wasted, and I'm like, I sent him a message. I was like, you've opened my eyes up a little bit.
Yeah.
And they do shout out that, well, I do shout outs, but it was a shout out that was unintended
Right.
because you spoke about minimalism and it woke me up a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because, I'd rather have abundance in experience as opposed to abundance into materialism, because those are the moments, those are the memories, the legacies that you're instilling in all that are involved.
Oh yeah.
And, like when I was younger, my parents did well. And I was just like, oh, I want this brand and this brand. But
Me
I
too.
would only like, really, truth be told, I would like maybe wear it a fraction of the amount I can actually get out of
But that,
it, you
but that
know?
was social stuff as well, like branding and adverts, and then hey,
Yeah.
that kid at school's got that, and then
Yeah.
3 other kids have got that, and next thing we're all wearing Rockport boots.
Right,
For my generation,
Yeah.
or whatever it could be in America, fucking some
Yeah,
Air
like
Jordans.
Nike or something.
Yeah.
And it's
Jordans,
like,
yeah.
and it's just, like when we were on holiday, I was just like, we would go to, we wanted to get out of the house, with everything. And, we went to a mall or two and I was like, oh my goodness, look at how much money is being frivolously spent.
Loads. Millions.
And and one of the funniest quotes that I heard
billions.
recently, I don't remember where it was from. It was literally recently that I've heard it, and it's really sticking with me. Is like, we don't leave this place on Earth with, a trailer. The Egyptians did that, and they got robbed. And I was like, that's awesome.
Oh,
I was like, that's an awesome quote analogy.
that's crazy.
And I was just like, wow, like, am I gonna really love this Coach bag, or am I really gonna need this, $5,000 watch? You know what I mean? And no, please don't get me wrong. No, you worked hard, you build your brand. It is, to each his own. But for me, not only as a parent, but as, just really tapping into the spiritual, emotional, like I feel the priceless items are the gifts that we were given. And once we know how to utilize them appropriately and pay it forward and leave our legacy and build our legacy, that is value. You know what I mean?
Heard of the phrase like a Kodak moment?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like that's what it is.
Yeah, and
you can capture it now on like film, but
right,
it doesn't serve nothing because the memory is always the best. And some things, even though you do forget and they're bad and good, it's you always remember them really good moments.
And like when my husband and I a couple of years ago, we were like, all right, we're diehard Disney fans, right? So we're like, okay,
I was going to get to that as well.
And we went to Disney World 2016, 2017, 2018. The bookends were with our grandparents, with our sons, with our parents, and then the middle year was just the 3 of us. And I was just like, I kind of like, we felt kind of guilty, like, really, we're going to go to Disney World 3 years in a row. That's kind of, we went 2 in the springtime and 1 for Christmas. But Tim, those
3
memories were just, I wouldn't change it for the world. To see our son's face when he first went to Disney World for the first time, to see the grandparents' face, like, just that stuff that's priceless.
I'm fascinated, not by Disney. I mean, the films and the company and the franchise are a different, fascinating thing, right. Completely. I mean, I was raised on Disney films.
Yep.
I haven't shown many new ones to my son because they're not great,
Not like they used to. No, it's the same plot, just different characters.
Yeah, but I'm fascinated by the park.
Yeah.
Because they've got these little... I'm an urban explorer, and they've got these little forbidden areas. And although I'm in a different country, I'm like, oh, what's going on there now? And
yes.
There's so many different aspects of Disneyland or Disney World, or either one, that there's conspiracies upon conspiracies and tons of other stuff, and I love it just upon that basis alone. And such a fascinating topic that rarely comes up. They say that certain areas smell like popcorn and stuff like that, so you can walk down certain places and they literally give off smells to make you feel better and more. You know, I mean,
It's
you
just
can go
taps
to a
into
stand.
six senses, all five, six senses. It really taps into it.
You can go to a fairground and smell popcorn. You know,
Right.
that's
It's not the
standard.
same. It's not the same.
But you can go to Disney and smell like a completely different element. They've fucking, I don't know what they've done,
Yeah.
but they worked it out to a strategic T, and they've done it for years.
Yeah.
I can't fault anything that they really do, apart from I mean, they own Marvel now. They own Star Wars.
Right.
They're pretty much a monopoly in the film world right now, but
Yeah.
their stuff's pretty good. I can't deny that. It's
Right.
very good.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna want to bring them. My husband and I were just talking about this the other day. Yeah, they're nickeling and diming and everything to kind of get back from what they lost or what have you. But at the same token, what everybody remembers is going to the park with their family, or riding a certain ride, or the smell or something. And that's what Disney has mastered, and that's the craft that Walt wanted. Families to come together for nostalgic and making memories. Not, man, he wanted to make money. I mean, the man went bankrupt a couple of times, but he never gave up. I would be interested in what his thoughts are on what it's become now. And we were saying, what would be great is, you have, for example, you have Tron, you have the Star Wars and all these parks. But think about if you had, for example, Mulan, right, is in the Tokyo or, Japan. You had in France, Ratatouille and, Gusteau's. You had,
oh yeah,
like if they were more, I'm trying to think of the correct way to say it. If
the
they
politically
were more,
correct word.
if they honed into their home grounds, homeland, and accentuated that more, I think that would drive them. If they weren't uniform, all different, if they didn't use the uniformity in all different parks, then you could say, okay, well, I've been to the Rise of Resistance in Disney World. Well, there's one in Disneyland. Really tapping into what their homeland assets were and, expanding them more,
Here's a question. I don't even know if you know it or not. What is the difference between Hollywood, California and Hollywood
in Florida?
Yeah.
There's really not much of a difference, to be honest.
But
the parks
but
are
there's always
the
that
same,
No, I mean generally there's always this weird talk, and I recently watched a film and they made some sort of joke, and there was like Hollywood, California, or the other Hollywood, and it was like, what's the joke behind that?
So Hollywood, California, what I think they're implying is that everybody is kind of really self-conscious and aware of what their presentation is as far as the people and the culture there, whereas far as Hollywood that they portray in Florida is kind of more cinematic. You know what I mean? And
that makes sense.
It's just like anything else, it's how perspectives are skewed or portrayed.
I mean, obviously it was probably some inside sort of joke, but I was like, what is that joke? Because clearly there would have been a lot of people laughing, but I don't know if there was some sort of...
It's just like any other thing about stereotypes. There's truth in there, but also it's kind of like not the truth you really want to be exposed or known for, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the only other problem is lately with all the cancel culture stuff, and I mean, we ain't even got to get into that, because that's a whole category in itself that could span for, it's going to span for years,
Exactly.
That's a fact. It's I've had multiple takes on it. I know my take is I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. It's all pretty good. I haven't had no complaints. It's all good. But maybe because I'm just this small little fish at the moment, someone's going to call me on it in, I don't know, a few years. Who knows?
But that's with anything. I feel if you're not doing you, you're missing out on so much, and you're missing out on the opportunity to see your fullest potential and see how far can you push the envelope? How far can you be authentic? Because I've really noticed, especially in, the industries of the career, is the more authentic or the more transparent you are, it's frowned upon now, which is really concerning, especially me as us as a parent. Why would you not want the truth to be disclosed? Why does everything have to be
that's
hidden?
the thing.
You know what I mean? We go, one of the videos, and actually one of my questions is, we're taught at a very young age to be honest, to be transparent, no judgment, to do the right thing, even when nobody's looking, act of integrity. But yet, as soon as that is tripped, then it's okay not to be honest. It's okay not to be transparent. And that really, with my line of work, that's kind of like, well, when did that happen? What situation, what individual, what occurrence, what incident has caused you to stop in your tracks from what you were going towards or who you were becoming?
Well, there's a lot of nature versus nurture behind that.
Absolutely.
To be quite honest.
Absolutely.
Because, well, it's strange because, when I was raised, we could go out and do what we wanted.
Yep.
Phones weren't a thing, but there was no harm.
Right.
No harm at all. If I went out and shit really hit the fan, and there was a few moments, but one of my friends went home, banged on my door.
Right.
Next thing, because I didn't go far from fucking home, because I wasn't a crazed madman.
Right.
But then my dad would come running, do whatever. Some of those times I was in the wrong.
Right.
Gonna point that out there. There was a fatal flaw in that, what I just said, because one of those incidents I was extremely in the wrong, but it was only because I was extremely young. You have to really get into it. But as all young children do, we like to set fires.
Right.
Like, there's a weird thing.
Yeah.
And I was trying to build a fire because I wanted to roast some marshmallows. And I was a young kid. I just wanted some marshmallows.
Right.
But it didn't go out that way. Right. And some guy had seen what had gone on, and it was behind his fence. And there was a weird, like, sort of undergrown sort of alleyway to his fence. And obviously the dude was probably primarily concerned that it would set fire to his fence.
Right.
Which is extremely reasonable, but as a 7-8 year old child, I just wanted to get I just wanted to eat their marshmallows, and I weren't eating them, and I'd got a box of fucking matches, and it was a crazy moment.
Yeah.
But it was one of them moments where, again, my dad come down, so I'm not going to advocate any of that, but there's that little story. Another one of those little bonus stories. They keep coming out.
But I think too, it's I can speak of it. I tend to be at times a helicopter mom. Is that gonna bite me in the back? Yes. But I looked at the way I was raised, and it was always follow the rules, always prim and proper. But when I got to adolescence and when I got to college, forget it. It was crazy. Like, it was no holds bars, and I was like, well, maybe I should have kind of learned, hey, if you put your hand on the stove, you'll get burned. Obviously not to that level, but an analogy.
No, that's true.
And I'm trying to kind of implement that and kind of learn that with our son. You know what I mean? Like, all right, let him make mistakes. But I mean, as a parent and an empath, it is so hard because I know.
How old is he?
He's 11.
Because that's the. Ooh.
Yeah, so.
I haven't asked this. We've been talking for 2 hours, 10 minutes. I haven't asked many questions about your personal life, but that, I wanted to know that just on that conversation.
Yeah, and so.
That's tricky.
But what's crazy is not yet, but he just turned 11. But he's a mini me, which terrifies me.
Oh, shit.
because it's like I had to learn the hard way. Every single thing in my life, I learned the hard way because I was stubborn, I was rebellious, and I was in Mr. Rogers' neighborhood for the first what 13, 15 years of my life, and following the rules and doing what I had to do. So, and my husband, by the grace of God, you know, he learned immediately. He was not a bad kid. He was a great kid. And so he's just like, look, man, you gotta let him, gotta let him learn on his own. And I'm like, yeah, but you know where it could go, and I'm trying to prevent that. And at the same time, I feel his pain. I feel his anger. I feel his frustration. I feel his concern. Yep. And these kids today, I don't know about your children, but these kids today are beyond their years. Like I said, that and now that experience at the powwow, well, was 2 years ago. He wanted to go to see Yanni and Johnny Mathis play. And I was like, dude, he reads like no holds bars. I mean, he reads and reads and reads and reads. And I'm just like, dude, wow. And he's so intellectual, so 2 steps ahead of everybody. And he gets frustrated with the individuals where they're like kind of being kids, you know what I mean?
Kind of. It's bad to say, but they are in a way lesser.
Yeah.
And it's a fucked up way to put it. And I'm not slandering anybody's kids, But there's been moments. Again, I've got a 2-year-old, but he's the size of a 4-year-old.
Oh wow.
He's tall as fuck.
Wow.
He's ridiculous, and I'm 5'7".
Oh wow.
So yeah, it's not from me. Trust me. my partner, she's smaller than me as well. So
oh wow.
It's not even a generation thing because my dad, he claims he's 5'9". bitch is 5'8" ish and a half.
Right.
Fucking
right.
5'9". Get out of town.
Yeah.
There's always that competition between who's the tallest. Well, I give up, man. I'm 5'7", but I'm 5'7" 3/4". But
Right.
I just say I'm 5'7". I'm just the short end of it. I don't give a fucking shit.
Yeah.
But he's tall for his age.
Right.
And there was a moment, and we went to the park ages ago, and he was trying to help this young. Well, I thought it was a young boy. I thought it was just a younger boy who had just learnt to walk,
Right.
like sooner than his years.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd helped him on the seesaw. And I was like, that's cool. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, literally helped him up, put his hands up and everything.
Aww.
I didn't even know how he did that. I didn't teach him that shit.
Right.
And then I was talking to the mother, and I was like, how old is she? And I say this because I thought it was a girl to begin with. I said she. I didn't fuck my words up, trust me. I thought it was a girl to begin with. But only because of the long hair.
Yes.
And because I'm an idiot. That's all it was, because I'm stupid. Right. And I was talking, and I was like, how old is she? And the woman was like, I think it was just under 4. And I was like, what? I was like, really? And that also was what made me think it was a girl.
Right.
Because I was like, okay, that's a really petite, small, very small young girl.
Right.
And then we was talking for, I don't know, 25 minutes while the kids were running about, being fucking toddlers and whatever. Right. Mostly just picking up
wood chips or something.
Wood chips. Mostly picking up wood chips. Ah!
Yeah.
Fucking trying to eat, and I've got to go through these wood chips to make sure there's no fucking crazy you know what I mean? I'm having to go, you stay in this vicinity because I know this square's cool.
Right.
You go any further and I've got to do another spot check.
Right.
You know what I mean? Get a fucking get a metal detector out or something just to be on the safe side. But no, it was playing and was talking to his parent, and after like X amount of time, she said he, and I was like, oh, he?
Yeah.
And I was like, looked, and I was like, that's a. And I was like looking, going, that's a boy. And I'm not trying to be sexist or whatever in a way.
Right.
It was just genuinely, I was just being stupid, and I was so interested in my own bollocks and just watching them play, and I didn't even pay any attention, to be honest, as to what was going on.
Right.
But it was crazy. I don't know where the story started
No, we
now.
were talking about, children being, attentive and beyond their years and intelligent, and it probably
Yeah, it's so
correlates to
crazy.
you, like, wow, you helped them up. Wow, where did you learn that from?
Yeah.
It's almost instinctual. And the same thing with
So
ours.
wild.
My son has, his hair goes down to his waist now, but it's like,
Shit.
and it's all braided. We braided, we twisted.
Yeah.
Amazing. And so,
I used to have dreads
right.
before,
Oh, wow.
during the pandemic. Yeah, I used to have dreads. They're gonna come back in. Trust me, I've decided, and I'm not putting it out there now. I'm gonna regrow them back in,
Nice.
but only because I cut them off.
Oh, wow.
I cut them off
It's a lot of
strategically.
maintenance, Like, I always joke,
Yeah,
I was like,
it
when
is.
I wanted a kid, when I decided to do this family parenting thing, I was like, please don't. And some people are gonna give me a lash out there, but it's okay. I was just like, oh, no, just give me a boy. That's what I'm used to. It's easy. Well, I got a boy, but with a beautiful head of hair, now it takes me 45 minutes to an hour to get his hair ready for school, and kind of tame his mane,
That's
sick,
though.
That and the islands mixed, and it's just like, wow,
That's sick though. That it's down to his waist and it's that long.
Yeah,
that's bad.
He takes care of it, and like I help as well, but it's just a lot of maintenance.
Well, the thing is, I've seen back onto that subject mildly of comedy.
Right.
Because you said that your husband was a comedian. Yes. We'll get into that. But I've seen a lot of Colombian comedians. They have a lot of long hair.
Yes.
And I've always wondered why.
Yeah.
And you've almost now just sort of explained that in a way, just to me, because I can read between the lines and whatever you just said. You know what I mean?
I think it's just the culture, I mean, when I was there was a lot of indigenous individuals, and I still don't know if I'm Mayan or Incan as far as the, Native American trait from in Colombia. But yeah, it's beautiful and everything. It's a lot of, I mean, my hair is like all the way down, goes all the way down by my waist as well. I just love it. Yeah. It's a lot of maintenance, but I don't know. I did 1 year go up to here, and I was like, yeah, no, that's not happening. I was like, I didn't like it because it was just so easy, and not the maintenance I loved, but it just wasn't me with my my round face and stuff like that. It just didn't.
No, that makes sense.
But
it's like some people that have the like bangs, as you call them.
I don't think I could ever do the bangs. I don't think.
Yeah, it's a phrase which few males would really know, but I know all the shit, man.
Very, very, yeah. So yeah,
but no, I used to. Hopefully, I mean, I know I've got to get 6 inches to get these bad boys put back in. Mm-hmm. So hopefully, by the time they're back in, it should be about halfway down my back.
Oh wow!
But they're my own extensions, so I don't give a shit.
Right.
Kept them in a bag, kept them safe.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah, cut them off.
Do you have any? You have to send pictures. I love to see that. What the dreads.
I'll send you some prior pictures. But definitely. when I first normally when I first started my show, I normally wear just my hat. But lately I'm like, I want those dreads back. Yeah. I kind of miss them. Again, there's some sort of fun maintenance side to it, and looking after them.
It's also like a piece of you too, like a character.
Yeah.
Charismatic trait. You know what I mean?
Well, normally these sides are shaved away, or I'm just bald. I was bald, or it's just this piece here.
The crown, right?
Yeah. But that's where my dreads literally are. It goes from there down to like there. They'll be back. I know they are. I've said it now, so I've got to do it.
You have to. Now I'm going to hold you to it.
I know. Well, I've got to go and get a haircut for my son because he's starting preschool soon. So I've got to go and take him the barbers.
When does school start for you guys?
Oh, fuck. It's in not even a couple of weeks now for him.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks.
And
I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What's crazy is they just changed in our area. It was kindergarten through 6th. And then 7th and 8th, and then high school. Well, of course, this year they put 6th grade with 6th, 7th, 8th, and I'm just like,
Oh,
that's
I didn't know they did that. Huh.
and I'm just like, my baby boy is gonna be with like these 7th and 8th graders. Oh my gosh, and he's
Was that
so like smart.
was that completely over the whole country?
No, some states
Just
do it. Not
okay.
a lot, but you know, they mentioned it to us the beginning of his last school year, and I was like, why would you? Why? What's the need for it? You have the space. I didn't understand the rationale for it.
Well, maybe it's because there is a level in which you are better equipped to deal with older people rather than younger.
Yeah, I
If that
guess
makes
so.
sense.
Yeah.
It's the same way in which you can't be a 5-year-old playing with a 2-year-old.
Right.
You know, because
Right.
that or a 7-year-old playing with a 4-year-old.
Right.
Because it's like, hey, we're two different things. You're a little half toddler boy, and I can talk, and I can
Yeah.
kick a ball in a straight line. I can do real things.
Right.
Maybe it's almost along that sort of category.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll see how it turns out. But I remember because my school years they stopped at 6th and then 7th and 8th, and 7th and 8th was the hardest for me. Oh my gosh, that was probably the hardest years for me in school on an emotional and social level. Academic, I was still struggling.
Yeah, no.
I just never
Well, I mean,
got, you know, like they just, like I said, they only taught one way of learning, and it was impossible for me. But on the social and
my
emotional
problem.
level, social and emotional level, 7th and 8th were really hard for me.
I mean, that's almost the same aspect for me because there was a moment where I just couldn't really be bothered.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like I knew what I needed to learn, and I was like, the stuff that I wanted to learn as well. I knew I was never going to be shit hot at maths.
Right, yeah.
I knew that straight away.
Yeah.
Because I got to an age where I was like, I'm really not good at this.
Right.
Like, and if I was, then I'd excel at it. I'd
Exactly.
be progressing.
Yeah.
I'd progressing at a strategic level.
Absolutely.
It's the same way in which I've only just worked out how to fucking decently do woodwork
Yeah.
in my fucking 30s.
Right.
If I took it in school, I was a piece of shit. I just wanted to play around with the tools.
And it's funny you
You
mentioned
know?
that because in 7th and 8th grade, that's what we had. We had home economics and woodshop.
Yeah.
And what did I?
Well-
I excelled in woodshop, but when I did home economics, I gave it to the guys. I was like, "You guys do this. I'm not." Doing
Well, it's crazy because I actually preferred some aspect of it. I preferred the cooking side of it because it was more hands-on and it was tricky. Where you had this set thing that you had to do.
Right.
Whereas woodwork, it was like, hey, we're going to give you these tools. You can design something, make it,
Good
off you go.
Yeah, and that's what I.
And it
loved.
was like-
that was the learning I loved.
Yeah.
But the guys in my class, they loved the cooking. It was just simple. You did it. It was already done
Yeah.
for you. You just had to follow it. But that's
I
so
mean,
funny that you said that. I very rarely do I meet
I'm
someone.
a
that's
badass cook,
confident,
man.
You know?
I'm a badass. I ain't gonna lie.
That's my
I'm a badass cook. I ain't gonna lie.
Full disclosure,
Yep.
fun fact. I would make, if I could live off of sandwiches and soups, that's me. I used to I used to make a sandwich. My girlfriend would come over and she was not the cook either. And I would just throw down a sandwich. My husband would come home. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just making a sandwich, man." He's like, "No." He would get out every condiment, spice, season. I'm like, now
That's
you're just making
weird
it
thing.
gourmet. Why? Like, I just wanted
You
a
see
sandwich.
that in films?
Yeah, and I'm just
Like-
like really?
They're like, you're making a sandwich, and next thing there's like 15 things on the counter.
I'm just like,
I've
can I
tried
just have
that.
lettuce, meat, and tomato.
Yeah.
He's like, no, stop.
Well, the other day I surpassed myself. I mean, I can do sort of salads and shit like that, but I don't bother. Meat is the one that is specific for me because you get different types of meat and you
Yeah.
have to cook it at different types of temperatures, and then oven, gas, coal,
Yeah.
wood,
Yeah.
all different.
Right,
So
right.
I love cooking
Awesome.
meat. And the other day I did, and I wished I was a fucking greedy bastard. I'm not gonna lie. So I had a bit of a drink with my partner.
Uh-huh.
and we had all this tons and tons of barbecue, like chicken pieces left over. So what I did was but it was in the freezer, so I defrosted them. But I defrosted them and then soaked them overnight in my own special. I'm not going to say what it was. Sauce recipe. And then what I did was I cooked them in a casserole dish, a massive casserole dish. Cooked a lot with bones. I could have probably stripped it all off the bones, but I didn't. I kept the skin on during the whole time. I'd also pre-marinated it before it went in there. I forgot to add that. So I took them out, pre-marinated, put them in a casserole dish. Luckily, kept all the skin on. And this was like the first cook. Then I took them out for fun. Put them in the oven because I was like, this is getting a bit tender on the inside. So I took them out, re-marinated them sons of bitches again. Put them in the oven on a very smaller, slow cook. It was a very smaller, slow cook, which kept the skin on. It was fascinating. And then what I did was I was like, looking at it, I was like, we need to do something else. So I put them back in again with all the juices and all the bullshit from the first fucking sort of casserole dish wash off. So I then took that, put some honey in it, banged that back in the first sort of dish again, cooked it again for another sort of half an hour on fast while this crispy sort of coating just really got it stuck to it. And then what I did was I took it out again and then pan fried the son of a bitch. Cooked it 4 times over to the point where when I took it out, well, I'll tell you what, I'll send you a picture of it right now. Midway.
Pavlov right now.
It was my 4 times over. I used this beer as well as a glaze, and I used so many different things. But it was a 3-4 hour-ish cook, but it was pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie, it was damn good. And it was. This is just 2 pictures of the bowl that I just separated in. Oh, god damn! To the point where I had
amazing.
I had a couple of bits left in the bowl, so this is where I become a fat pig. As I put as much as I could in my bowl, ate the shit out of it, and then I went to bed. And I was sitting there, lying in bed, craving, and it was so sticky, because that's what I made it. I made it sticky as fuck. So I was sitting there, lying in bed, and I was like, man, I really want some more of that chicken. So I come down out of bed, cooked up the remainder of what I had left, and then ate that, and then went back to bed. I'll have to put those pictures up there for people because
I know where I'm going next time I'm over in the UK.
Listen, it was chicken and barbecue. I'm meant to be making some burgers this evening, which is going to be on the. Yeah, it's.
I love barbecuing. Barbecue food, you can barbecue anything all year round.
Well, midway, I'm a huge barbecue fan, especially slow pulled pork. Here's a very good one. What you should do is get a big casserole dish or a big.
Like a Dutch oven.
A big pot, yeah, a big pot, and or a slow cooker, and get a big pork joint, and put sort of fizzy pop in it, like Dr. Pepper, or cola, or anything. You can use like appetizer. Appetizer's a big one.
Okay.
Appetizer's really good. Is that a dog?
Oh no, the door shut. My son was checking in on me.
Oh, that's it. I thought there was a dog for a second.
No.
You got any pets?
I did have one. It was a pit bull chow chow. I had him since he was 3 weeks old, and he passed at age 16 a few years ago. 2016.
Oh, bless him, man.
He was that was another love of my life. He was like the pit bull chow, but the chow chow. He had the pit bull body. But his purple tongue and the chow chow chubby face is what he had. He was awesome. His name was Tyson.
Oh, beautiful. I used, me and, again, my friend Mick, we had a French-English bull mastiff.
Oh, wow.
Called Myra, and she was gorgeous. She used to take wheelie bins out.
Aww,
she used to drag the bin out by the wheel.
I never had luck with female pets. They always bit me or had like an attitude. It was bad. So I always had male. She was a fun dog, but he then
he met somebody when he was living with me, and his now wife, I think they're married now, had a French English Bull Mastiff, but it was a male, and it was like triplicate of the size.
Oh my goodness!
And I've never seen a dog so big.
Wow,
it was huge.
They're
I remember
huge.
going up to it for the first. I remember going up to it for the first time and getting its face near mine.
They're
and I was
huge.
Like, he could eat.
They're huge.
He could eat my. He could have put my whole head in his face. And I looked at him and I was like, "Man, you're big." And then we had a little play, and it was fun. It was a guard trained dog.
Yeah.
So obviously, my mate Mick's partner trained the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Kudos to her because she was small.
Yeah, no, that reminds
dog.
me of a funny story. So I'm petite stature as well, and this dog was like 110 at its prime,
Yeah.
and that was way more than I did. And I trained that dog like no holds bars. And I remember when we first bought our house, we had like a barbecue, and kind of full circle how the conversation goes. And Tyson was there, and we never fed him like people food. He always had dog food, the dry dog food or what have you.
Yep.
And then he would have like maybe ice cream. That would be his treat, or whipped cream was his like favorite. Long story short, I remember I said to everyone, do not feed him people food. Does anybody listen? No. So there was a barbecue dropped on the floor, and Tyson went after it, and he went to bite it, and it was a bone. And I remember going to his face, the dog's face, putting my hand into his mouth and taking it out. And my husband was like, I'm not messing with you, because they have locked jaws.
Well, the problem is
they have locked jaws.
Yeah, they do. But the problem is they could choke on them bones.
Right. I mean, granted, it wasn't it wasn't a huge bone, but I went in if I took a picture of everybody's face of this little petite girl going into this huge pit bull's mouth and saying, drop it, like really mean and aggressive, he just kind of opened his jaws. He had them locked, pulled it out, and they're like, I'm not messing with your wife ever. To go into face to face.
Was it
hip bone?
Was it a chicken bone?
It was a rib bone from like ribs.
Oh, okay.
That's
probably still a little bit bad. I know chicken bones, they can shatter,
right?
Can't they? And they can break in weird ways and get really sharp and pierce, and it's pretty deadly.
Yeah, and Tyson used to we would joke how he used to floss his teeth. He would take sticks and just chew them, but spit the shards out to kind of clean his teeth. But that was like the running joke was, don't mess with, my wife. She goes to like pit bulls, like goes right
pit bulls.
It was funny.
It's kind of funny because after this 2-hour 30 conversation, because we're getting deep, I could imagine that you are one of these people that now goes up to dogs and goes, listen, bitch, this isn't working. You're going to just play the game, okay?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to put I don't know, I could almost imagine you being one of the semi-cast roles in like Machete or something like that, one of those bad motherfuckers that,
My doppelganger, they joke, is Michelle Rodriguez. So let's talk
about
that.
Yeah. I see it now.
So that's definitely the running joke with my husband and I, even though he's 6'2" and totally different stature from Dom. He's not the Italian Dom, but definitely he's seen my fair share of Letty come out a time or two.
I'm not gonna lie. There was about 20 minutes ago where I was sitting there for a brief minute, and I looked back and I was like, I'm sure there's a doppelganger in Hollywood of you somewhere. And then I couldn't work it out. And then when you just said it there, I was like, oh yeah. That's the one. That's crazy. I've yet to find one of myself.
I see. What is his name?
Very tricky.
What is his name? Okay, the only reference I can say is kind of street and crud, but the other credit is kind of like, innocent. So the street cred is in Eminem and what's her name?
Not because of the hair.
No, it's not Eminem. It's not Eminem. It's the character in the Eminem video. What
Oh,
Rihanna and Eminem's video. Um,
I don't know.
he's the gentleman is dating Megan
Oh, I'm
Megan
gonna have to
Fox.
Google.
Megan
I'm
Fox.
gonna maybe have to Google this now.
But
That's
have you
crazy.
seen The Lord of Rings?
Yeah, of course I
Okay,
have.
so the guy, one of the guys, I forgot his. Okay, now it's gonna bother me, but that's who you remind me of.
You can explain the character and I'll guess that
So
off the bat rather than your first
it's the
reference.
smug, kind of sarcastic character in Lord of the Rings, one of the twins. Not
Twins?
not Sean.
Oh, the fucking hobbits. Jesus. I
That's
said
what
I was
trying to give you
5'7".
the street cred
And you
one.
reference the hobbits. God damn it. That's terrible. Reference her. Let me find that first reference. Give me the Hobbit
I want to give
statue.
you that reference because that's who you remind me of with the tattoos and the street cred and you know the
Eminem.
bad tough bad boy kind of persona. So go to
That's even worse.
go to
I think I'll take the Hobbit.
yeah, go to Eminem and Megan Fox's video, Rihanna's video.
Look, yes, love the way you lie.
Yes.
It was
The character dating Megan Fox in that. The male.
okay. That was a very funny little segment. That was amazing.
You're like, yeah, I like that street kid. Wait a minute, that's the Hobbit.
Yeah. Dominic Moynihan. Well, fuck. Who's that dude?
Is that his name?
Oh, then I'd rather take the Hobbit, man. That dude's a weird looking guy. That's terrible.
Go to not that picture. It's the one
What do you mean, not that picture?
in
What do you
the
mean,
video.
Dominic?
In the okay, here. If you go
Yeah, I don't
Dominic
know.
Mania's Lostopedia. And his hair
Doesn't
is
matter
brushed
what-
down.
I don't know. The only picture I see,
Yeah.
he was in Lord of the Rings too. Was he?
Yes. Let's see if I can.
Yeah, yeah, that's the same one I've got.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I see here. Here you go. Here's a better
I
one.
don't know.
Here's a better one. Why can't?
No, I know the picture. I've got the same things on the screen. I don't know. That's a sketchy reference, man. I love how you got this superstar megalithic reference, and I'm like, hey, you've got the Hobbit and this weird dude with the big fucking ears. Even though my ears ain't even on show. They're
I didn't say
under
the
a
ears, I said
fucking.
the profile face of the, the
Oh,
flat top
no.
and the eyes, the big brown eyes, the nice smile, the slender face. That's what I was attributing to.
Okay. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
gonna lie. That's what I see.
Okay. No. How do you even know I had brown eyes? They've barely been open this whole time. Oh, okay.
Well, when you did that segment of looking directly in the camera, that's when I caught it.
Oh yeah, no. If there was any other colour, there would have been. I don't know. I don't know. I might have to do a half an hour mimic in the mirror to his stuff later. Well, what I'll do is I'll look into him as an actor, and I'll get my phone, and then the video, and then I'll get a mirror, and then I'll just try and mimic his scenes, and I'll go right. Okay. If I see it, I see it. But if I don't, I'm going to call you out on your bullshit.
Because you could go for Eminem, but you're too young looking.
Nah.
You look too young. You look too young.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't. Someone once said when I was a child that I looked like the bassist out of Green Day, but I'd never seen it, and the dude was pissed out of his head. And it was crazy because I used to be in a band when I was like 17.
Okay.
And the dude, and we went to see a band play that was very good, and they shouldn't have split up. They were called Peach Fuzz.
Oh wow.
And there was amazing. They were like Red Hot Chili Peppers, but
Well, there's always flea if you dyed your hair green.
oh, okay, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Well, I can't remember the Green Day dude, but. It was just one of them weird moments where we went out and this dude was trying to get a picture of me because I was, who was steaming because he was adamant, and this was barely in the days of phones when they had cameras, and we went to play this gig and he was like, oh, you look like fucking, what's his name, something Durst, Fred Durst or something, I don't fucking know.
Durst, yes.
Yeah. And he was like, you look like Fred Durst. And I'm like, what? And he was like, yeah, give me a picture. Like some crazed pisshead. And I mean, I was just a little bit drinking at this point, and to be honest, most of it was all I was on. I was a bit of a psychonaut back then, you know,
Right.
different, multiple amounts of things. So I was kind of a bit weirded out, but I'd never seen it once. I was like, I don't even look remotely like that guy. So, and I was fucked up, but I was like, what the fuck was that guy seeing? I was like, he must have been wild. Yeah, exactly. He must have been doing that weird Beavis and Butthead trippy fucking shit. Some fear and loathing style stuff that was way out of even my depths at that point.
But yeah,
that's crazy.
Who's to know? You could have like honored that like years later. Yeah, I saw this guy. Like yeah, that's been.
It was some stuff sticks. Yeah. It's so funny because at the start of the show you'd mentioned that you know, people reach out and you get this little bit of recognition, and then it shows that people are listening.
Yeah.
Well, one of my last guests was one of those people that I had a half. Well, it wasn't a false memory because I know it was true. Because it turned out to be true, and I was bang on the button with what I was talking about. Right. But I had this memory of this film, and I was trying to explain it to people for years, and so many people couldn't get it. Like a whole mess of film geeks and buffs. And basically the scene was, because I was 14 when I seen this, which was why it could get hazy.
Right.
And I woke up on my sofa, and then I looked at the screen, and there was this scene where there was a hand throwing someone off a roof. And then there was a bunch of hands walking down the street. And that was it. And then I remember watching it. I remember falling asleep to Rocky Horror, and I woke up to that. And it was a weird transition. But it was the first time I watched Rocky Horror, and it was also the first time I'd watched and caught the end of that. And basically, I always wanted to know what it was, or whether it was just some weird dream. And I'd mentioned it throughout my life, and no one could ever give me an answer. I typed X amount of different things into Google, and it never made a difference. I could type in anything, and it wouldn't give me the result apart from idle hands. And even friends would be like, hey, it's idle hands. And I'm like, no, it really isn't. I've seen that film. I have it on DVD. I'd be pretty accurate knowing what it was. So I come to do a show a couple of months ago, a month and a half ago, and I'd mentioned it. I had a guy called Brandon Ford, and then one of his listeners listened to the show and boom, knew it in an instant. And he gave me, basically he gave me a screenshot of the film that was in question, and I was like, that is, and it was crazy because before he even mentioned the film name, he gave me the screenshot going, is this the film you're talking about? And I didn't even know it was a friend of a friend, so to speak. And it was just come out of nowhere. And I was like, wow, that is the film that I'm talking about.
And you said it was like, somebody's hand dropping somebody off of a roof.
Yeah. Basically.
Walking across the street.
Yeah. And the picture that he sent of me was the hands walking, multiple hands. And I'd never seen the image, and I'd searched for it loads of times. Now, the film, after we talked about it, was called Quicksilver Highway, which was a sting upon me because I'm a huge Stephen King fan, and I'm also a huge Clive Barker fan. And it turns out they collaborated to do this film.
Oh, wow.
Well, it scooped under my radar so well because I didn't even have a clue.
Wow.
But it was the way that you spoke at the start of the show where we said that, you know, people speak out and then things happen that you would never expect to sort of happen.
Right.
And it's crazy. You know, and that was one of those moments. I was going to talk about it earlier, but, you know, I also forgot the Steve-O story and multiple other stories, and there was segues and tangents, and, you know, it's like, it's essentially like when you see a one of those crime things on a wall where there's just multiple pins and dots and photos. That's the way the show works. It's just like there's a bunch of photographs everywhere, and then there's me laying these pins and dots to multiple things. But we are going to have to round it up because unfortunately I do have to cook some burgers. And upon showing you that juicy meat that I cooked the other day 4 times over, I'm going to have to round this up. So where can people follow you?
Absolutely. So I am all on social media handles. Andrea Mason on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and I have my own website, andreamasons.com. And what I always love to do, as it is a pleasure and honor to be featured on your podcast, you included, I grab your cell phones, go to the email, type in am.pressplay@gmail.com for your complimentary session with me so we can get you to meet your fullest potential and press play. Plan life according to you.
I was going to get into that app. And you know what? We'll save it for another show. I always invite people on because I like to have regular people. And this has been a very fun show. But unfortunately, I have been alerted that I'm due to be cooking food hours ago. This was one of those episodes that they're always just free run. I don't know how long they're going to go. Yeah. And to be honest, I've not looked at the time for what is 20 past 6. Yes. It is dinner time.
Yes, absolutely.
But this has been very, very fun.
No, absolutely. You get to see behind the scenes of who I really am, some keynote facts, some fun facts, and, sharing stories. That's what it's about, absolutely.
Well, this is what that show is about. It's about giving people that 3-dimensional perspective of yourself and in ways in which people can't even imagine, because everything's always random topics and segues and it goes the way it does.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for every single compliment you've gave on the show as well.
Absolutely.
That has, it's been somewhat overwhelming. It's almost threw me off guard several times. Yeah. When I'm processing them, they keep bouncing. This head's always on overspill. So they've been very hard to process. Well, listen, this has been the Posthuman Podcast today with Andrea. I fucked up at the start because it says Andrea. See, this is what I remember. But it's with Andrea Mason. And this has been a fantastic show. Take it easy, people, and catch you next time. Thank you very much.